Welcome to Flat Earth Debate, Uncut and After Show. I'm your host Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe, hit the bell notification icon and join button to keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you would like to support the channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they premiere, and there's also a PayPal, Patreon and crypto link in the info box below the video. Speaking of Patreon, I'm going to do a quick shout out to all of you who do support me on Patreon, so a massive shout out of thanks and appreciation to Maxi Tycon, Michael Kahn, Patrick Gunnels, Banter, Will Brax, Melby Styles, Troy Shuker, Bo Snail, Samson, Maris, Hairy Blade, Mobile Max 777, Neo the One, Lost Cat FE, Rob W, Open Minded Reese Pound, Dal West Watson, Mike Muted, Dick Earth Skeptic, Maria Neelands, Unbelievable Productions, Blue Ridge Ranger, Rob H, The Real Gabster, Windrider, Liam Nedrick Jr., Abraham Mohammed, Naibai, Adrian Quintana, Skeptic936, Life is Short, Fireball X, TheFlatEarthChannel.com, Texas Mike, Edwin Johnson, and David Wayne Foster. So a massive thank you to all of you for supporting me on Patreon. Also below this video you can get £50 for swapping your UK electricity supplier to Octopus Energy. With that, I'm going to hand over to whoever is in Discord and Google so you can enjoy their conversation while I set up for today's live show.
He let a little crack in. He put this like video out. It's like maybe 10 seconds, but it's, you know, it's about abortion, and it's Omni-Man. I think that's the superhero. Am I got it right? Omni-Man. Anyway, it's got over like 300,000 views and comments, and he's been debating with this one guy about I think the guy's an evolutionist. So he comes to me yesterday and he goes, the guys you talk to on your show, they talk about evolution, right? I'm like, yeah, why? I know what he's on about. So he wants some information from QE about this whole evolution thing. So maybe a little opening.
You just direct him to the video that QE is the presentation QE's done on that.
That's what I sent him. I sent him to his channel. I said, you scroll down and he's got a lot of stuff about evolution and everything else. But before, I know it was a defense mechanism because my son knows QE's not stupid. Nathan's not stupid. He knows he's not stupid. But he says it. You know, so anyway, we'll see what happens.
Is your son an anti-flat earther?
I think so. I think so. But I don't know if this is weakening him here now, because this guy is a very intellectual guy. He sounds like an idiot, but you can tell that the guy he's going back and forth with about the video, I don't know, he's pro animals and thinking that animals have rights and stuff like that. So my son's going back and forth with him, but yeah, I think he's an anti-flat earther.
See, I think once you become an anti-flat earther, it's because you can't be a glober anymore, right? You just don't want to be a flat earther. He's eventually, you know, nobody can stay in that, you know, denying measurements mode for the rest of their lives. Eventually he'll crack.
I hear what you're saying. I understand what you're saying. Yeah, I believe so.
I could be wrong though, you know.
Hey, this guy was saying, this guy brings up because they found that viruses can affect, let me see if I get this right, apes the same way as it affects humans, therefore evolution. I don't know. In other words, there's so many common things between gorillas or monkeys or whatever you want to call them, apes and humans. So what is that, correlation? Do I have that right?
Well, it's also a false one because the 98%, whatever number they come up with, is because they completely disregard and take out a sequence 98% of the genome. So, yeah, it's complete crap.
Can you say that one again? It kind of flew by me.
Well, they say that our DNA is 98% the same as a chimpanzee's. Have you ever heard that?
No, just joking, John. Flew, F-L-U, flew by me.
I said virus, so yeah, we got it. Yeah, but I
Yeah.
think it's a good opening. I think my son's, he's humbling himself because he came over and he's like he's humming and hawing and your guys that you talk to, they speak about evolution, right? So I'm like, yeah, I know where he's going though, because he's been going back and forth since he put this video out. I mean, I'm gonna try and get it and share it. Got like over 300,000 views already. I mean, it's a hot topic, abortion, of course. And you're gonna get that reaction, but just for him to humble himself and ask if we have anything on evolution, I think it's a good step.
Get him to define it first. That's always that's a killer right there. As long as they can keep it ambiguous, they got hope. You know what I mean? They can't define it.
Yeah, that's what I said to him. I said, make them define it, first of all. What is evolution? You'll find that they can't. And you'll find that they're coming out with proofs before they even have a claim. They're giving you the proofs first. Of what? Proof of what? What is evolution?
Well, isn't evolution the first lie? Ye shall be as gods.
I never looked at it that way, but yeah, it could be.
Well, I mean, think about it. What are you evolving into? You're already a man, you know.
They were already like God. I mean, they weren't. I mean, they don't have the creation power that God has, but they were already like God. They just didn't know right from wrong, good and evil. Correct?
Well, no, that was the serpent's lie. You shall be as God.
Yeah, but it was wrapped up in truth.
Yeah, but don't mistake the attributes of the Creator as he shared it with his creatures, like empathy, mercy, love. Those we're like God in those ways, but we're created.
Correct. Yes,
God is not created.
I agree. But we were already, yeah, we had we had his attributes. So the devil pretty much lied to them. But he wrapped it up in the truth. Like all lies.
I'm just saying that evolution is the same statement. What are you evolving into? Well, you're evolving into a God, apparently.
Well, that's what you nailed it. That's exactly right on the spiritual level. And then you bring it to what they try to say the origin of man is. They got nothing. Ever since they started, they've had to shave down bones and teeth and say it fits this. They don't have any proof. They have no missing link. They got no transitional, nothing.
My question. I'm sorry.
It's just like the ball earth. They got nothing.
Yeah, my question is, if we evolved from ape, then why are apes still here? What's the answer for that? They didn't evolve? They were bad apes?
You're in the begging the question fallacy already. There is no. The DNA, when it was discovered, is a code for a yellow flower to be a yellow flower, not a blue flower. It can never be a blue flower because it's got the code for a yellow flower.
Correct.
That's how it works. My goodness, why are we even talking about this?
Why are you talking about how it works? How what works? When you're talking about evolution, you're essentially working outside of a convention that's been derived to give things names and categories. So the taxonomic classification system gives things categories. Chimpanzees, humans. Categorization by way of human intervention. So upon naming things and putting them into groups, You're then going to work outside of that convention and say that one has developed into the other. Just working outside a convention.
I did bring that up too. I asked them what species are. Just define what does species mean.
It's that classification system that we have assigned arbitrarily to certain groups of animals. This is that group of animals. This is this group of animals. These are mammals.
Yeah, it's agreed upon.
Yeah, it's a convention.
I'm glad we recruited the duck-billed platypus into the mammals.
Sure, it's arbitrary though, isn't it? We've decided that. So then to decide that one has changed into the other, what has changed into what? Well, my arbitrary categorization of this group has changed into my other arbitrary categorization of this other group over time. It's just like I say, it's working outside of a convention that's useful to define things and talk about things and give specific things groups so you can identify them easily. But then as soon as you start working outside of the convention, it fails on its arse.
See, this is good. This is good because when this comes out, I'm gonna send it to my son, and he's gonna enjoy this very much.
Absolutely.
You have a certain way of explaining things, Nathan.
I'm in a foul mood today.
What was that?
I'm in a very, very bad mood.
Hard to tell.
Yeah, I'm fuming
Oh,
mad.
why is that though? What's wrong?
I mistakenly left out a section on a tax form and it's cost me several £100s, which for most people
Oh
is
shit,
like,
that's not.
yeah, a few £100 to maybe some people isn't very much. To me, it's absolutely devastating. So,
Absolutely, yeah.
so all I've done is spend all
I'm sorry
morning
to hear
tracking
that.
down this error, trying to find out what the error is and how it's occurred. And once I found it, there was good news and bad news. Number one, it was a missing section rather than an amendment that you've got to make, which is even worse.
Right.
If you've sent
Right.
your affidavit or whatever they call it, then you've got to amend it. They don't like that. Whereas I just left out a section. And I know why I left it out. It's because I've got an accountant and I don't speak legalese. But there we go. That minor mistake has cost me several £100. And on a month where I've worked really hard to earn a bit more money.
Heard.
So it's pissed me
Yeah.
off royally.
Smack in the
Before you
face.
go, Stacy, Nathan, I got you beat. They're trying to get me for $7,000. Okay, same thing. It's happened 2 years in a row. I know the mistake though. I did it deliberately, so. But they did contact the third party, so it went from 7,000 I owe them to 4,000. So there was good and bad news.
Oh, it's still
Did you
bad,
forget-
but it's 7.
Did you forget to pay your TV tax, Nathan?
No, not at all. I don't have a TV and I don't pay TV license either. So I don't have a TV to pay a TV license for. And I haven't for many, many, many years. Either way, no, that isn't.
That's
It's
the
just
crazy-
normal, regular income
That's the
tax.
craziest thing.
It's just
I
boring.
can't believe you guys have a TV tax. That's insane.
Well, you don't have to pay it.
Let me ask you a question. What gives them the right? Like, they did this to me in 2017. It wasn't on my era. They didn't receive stuff I sent them. So they just declare that, okay, you owe me this amount of money. I had to go digging up stuff to prove what I sent into them. And they told me, well, it was lost in the mail. It wasn't sent in the mail. It was sent through the internet. So, you know, they got a lot of foul play with this IRS.
I mean, upon investigation, it seems like with all of these things, oh, no worries, you know, once we get the amended form back or the completed form back, you know, the error will be corrected and in time it'll come back to you. So you're like, okay, it seems on the surface of it reasonable, but it doesn't change the fact that right now, what I expected to get having worked really hard isn't what I'm getting. I'm getting less than I ever got. And you're like, that's fucking heartbreaking. Especially on a month when you've worked really hard. You're like, I really wanted to earn a good, decent amount of money this month, so I'll put the extra effort in. You're like, no, you're not getting that. Go whistle.
Yeah.
You do yours monthly?
Yeah. Isn't that just standard
we-
fare?
We do it yearly. So the same thing happened to me. but I've been on unemployment the whole time. So, like, I sent in my taxes before the president made that amendment. So I wound up paying like $4,000 more. So that's what I'm supposed to get back now. And it's
You're not
funny
just-
that they declared that that's how much I owe them now.
Do you not just do it? Do you not just do each year? Do you not just do your books each month? I just do them every month at the end of the month. Do you not do that?
No, they send you a W-2 form every year at the end of the year.
Yeah, sure,
For
that's the
what your
same here.
earnings.
No, don't get me wrong. I'm sure that is exactly the same. But I'm just saying, in terms of your own personal finances and taxes, do you not just make a note of it in a book at the end of each month? That's what I do.
No, I don't do that.
You just wait till the end of the year and do it all at once.
Yeah, just wait till we get it back. They say I made this.
Wow.
I
Okay.
say, yeah, sure.
Welcome to the American way, Nathan.
Okay. I mean, that's fair enough. Whatever. You know, how you do your taxes up to you, obviously. But anyway, who cares? I'm poor this month, so I'm pissed off. I've got to start a live show and be enthusiastic. So
Smash the super chat.
yeah, whatever. Like it'll make a difference. I shouldn't be so cynical. No, I am very grateful to everyone who supports me. I better take that all back immediately. Welcome. Flat Earth Debate Live. I'm your host, Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe, hit the bell notification icon and join button if you'd like to become a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member and keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you would like to support the channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they are live, and there's also a PayPal, Patreon and crypto link in the info box below the video. Also, below this video, you can get £50 for swapping your UK electricity supplier to Octopus Energy. Most importantly, if you'd like to join the discussion, simply mute the page you are currently watching, then click the link in the info box below this video to join the panel and express your views on the nature of Earth. If you do join, please don't swear. If you do, you'll be ejected. And if you are, please don't try to rejoin the stream using sock accounts. You'll be warmly welcome back on the next stream. Please also share the show on social media. Sharing the show obviously increases the live audience, but this in turn increases the chances of a more diverse panel, so please share the show on Facebook and Twitter. One last time, if you're new to the channel or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe, hit the bell notification icon and join button to keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. Now, we are joined by Father of a Stolen Child, Arwin, Neil, 10th Man, and a whole bunch of people in Discord, so welcome one and all.
Good morning, everybody.
How are
Morning.
you?
I'm fine.
Hey, Arwin.
Hello, Nathan.
Hello, Rams. Good to have you. How's everybody doing? Everyone happy?
Happy, happy, happy.
Excellent.
Happy
That's
and
good to
happy
know.
and bursting with love.
Same here, bursting with love, joy, and happiness as always. Any evidence of a physical, geometric sphere edge, that's a horizon formerly known as Earth curvature.
Well, if there was, we wouldn't be on the show today.
That's true.
So right off the onset, is there a baller who wants to come and show it to us so we can cancel the show?
Yeah, on that subject, there's obviously a need for a debate, in spite of the fact there is no debate. Earth is obviously, observably, measurably, and navigatably flat. So therefore, technically, there is no debate. We've won. All of the arguments are covered. This housekeeping session is merely an invitation to anybody who's still got the fundamentalist religious zealot belief that they're on a sphere to express their pain to us while we ask these questions. But the debate, you're right. I keep this debate going because it's longevity. There's definitely a majority of people who think they're on a sphere, therefore think we're wrong. So Therefore, I've got to show until the alternative is in place, which is to say that enough people just understand and appreciate the Earth to be flat, for it to be the case that they can just transition without anyone noticing. Yeah, we already knew. What is it? It's opposed violently and then accepted as though it was obvious all along.
I have an idea. Rename the show Ball Earth Berate.
No. It's more loving than that, because Nathan is asking them to share their pain. So he's here to help them cope with it. It's therapy, actually. The show for ballers. I'm not sure about anti-flat earthers, but for ballers, it's therapy.
Well, the anti-flat earthers, what do they think about this curvature measurement now? I don't think I've really heard any of them address it.
I couldn't get an answer out of Jem Panda's crew. They just obfuscate and circle around it, but they don't address it.
Address what? You're saying it. Make it specific. What is it specifically?
Measurements.
So
The
detailed,
Earth
so
measurement.
concise. Measurements. What, of your car?
What are we talking about? Mars? Talking about Earth. Measurements of Earth. It's measured flat.
Thank you, Neil. Indeed. Yeah, John.
I was going to say, well, there used to be a claim that you could draw a tangent to the horizon and use geometry to get a curvature drop. Is that out now? Do they not claim that anymore?
No,
Well, the
they still
defense of
do.
it as an anti-flat earther was published recently by Quantum Eraser, although it was the initial reaction, this sort of stupid blurting out with your mic as loud as it can possibly be, that nobody's ever claimed that we would measure the geometric dip angle as Al-Biruni did by way of a measurement to the horizon, was Jem Panda's declaration on Quantum Eraser's numpty clips yesterday.
Right, but it still conceals things behind it, right? So the horizon is not geometric. It's something else, but things still disappear behind it because it blocks them.
That doesn't make any sense.
No. Yeah, that doesn't
does.
make sense. No.
Well, they believe it though.
Believe
For
which bit
something
of
to
it?
block something,
Go on it, Neil.
I was going to say, for something to block something, it has to be physical. It has to be in the way.
Right.
Well, that's what
Well,
they're
they
saying
say
doesn't
it
make
is.
sense. That's the bit they're saying doesn't make sense, Harwin.
I know.
But you said they believe it. What's to believe?
Well, it blocks things behind it. It's just not geometric.
But that, just repeating it. Okay, let's move into Arwin chanting mode. What the... Yeah.
Yay!
We all heard it and we're dissecting it. We're just saying this is unreconcilable. So, what is there to believe in if it's unreconcilable? Is my question, Arwin. Don't just
Well-
repeat it again, please.
Well, it just sounds reasonable, and then you move on.
But that's to imply that cognitively they don't even think about it.
Yeah.
Arwen, if it's geometric,
No, it's
where'd you
not
get-
geometric.
I know, but you said they accept that it is. Isn't that
No.
based on the
No,
radius?
no. No, it's not geometric. It just only blocks things behind it. That's all.
It's a contradiction in terms.
Went
Right.
back to the same thing.
Right, it's a contradiction in terms, right? The assertion is a geometric assertion that it physically blocks things. So to say it's not geometric, welcome to Flat Earth. Not let's try and figure out how you're going to square this circle, Fundy, with a globe belief, now anti-flat earther. That's not our problem. Now, back in the day before we identified these separate groups, globe believers and anti-flat earthers, it was just like, what can you do other than point and laugh or point out their contradiction with that and the globe belief? From here on forward, it's going to be, which position are you fighting? Are you fighting for the actual globe rhetoric? Let's say it's Coriolis that they want to argue about. Are you fighting that Earth turns underneath to give us 15 degrees an hour drift? That's Coriolis effect. If you say that's not Coriolis effect, piss off. Get out. You don't understand. We do. And anybody can look up what we're declaring when we say non-inertial spinning reference frame turning beneath an inertial reference frame to cause not actual deflection at a rate of 15 degrees an hour on a turning Earth. You disagree with that claim, then bugger off, or make your anti-flat Earth claim, which is, don't you understand conservation of momentum? As long as we can establish that you're fighting against 15 degrees an hour, we'll just then move on to pointing that out to you. So you're anti-flat earther, here to tell us that Earth and atmosphere move as one, and you just assume it's all spinning. So you're basically debunking the 15 degrees an hour drift that we're supposed to see because we turn beneath then. We'll just succinctly summarise that they're an anti-flat earther fighting the globe position, rather than trying to get them to actually adhere to the globe claim, which is what we've done in years gone by. Well, you must claim that the Earth turns beneath the globe. That's the globe claim. No, it's a conservation of angular momentum. You don't understand Coriolis. It's like, we're way past that now. We do understand Coriolis. Earth turning beneath stuff to cause it to seem to drift at a rate of 15 degrees an hour is the claim globe has. Not it all turns together and conserve momentum. You won't see any drift. There's nothing to see here. That's an anti-flat Earth claim. So when we get that anti-flat Earth, conservation of momentum claim, we'll just point out, well, you're basically fighting against the globe claim then. Bugger off and go and defend your anti-flat Earth claim against globe believers. Tell the globe believers that you shouldn't see anything. There shouldn't be a 15 degrees an hour drift. Earth isn't turning beneath stuff to cause Coriolis effect. Go tell them, because I don't care. It's not my claim. Any evidence of axial rotation of the Earth-based variety?
Hang on, Nathan. Hang on. Let's go back. Why did they put X, as you point out, on all their illustrations? What is the X there for? What is that marking in their paradigm?
In the begging the question proof of nothing perspective hijacking Earth curve calculator, the X marks a horizon that physically blocks things.
Right. So how did they know to put it there?
It's based on the geometry of an Earth radius 3959. That's the tangent point.
They calculated it.
So you've got the observer's height in feet, and you can basically derive where that tangent point will be with a straight line to the geometric sphere edge.
Right, so it's based on the 3959 and the presupposition that you live on a sphere, correct?
Yeah, and at 1.2 times the square root of the observer's height in feet will lay the geometric physical sphere edge horizon. That's their geometry.
So, correct. So then when you say to a baller or an anti-flat earther, is the horizon the beginning of Earth curve? Or put it any way you like. Is the horizon Earth curve? Does that curve you talk about, where does that start? They're backtracking on all that. So that means they're backtracking on the 3959, which means they're backtracking on the X, which means they got no X. It's all been a model, and it's all been a calculation, but it doesn't exist in reality.
Well, the actual geometric horizon is where it blocks things, but yeah, for some reason, visually, it doesn't always work out, right? Because of optics complications, blah, 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 terrestrial refraction or something. I know it requires R. But yeah, so the actual visible geometric horizon doesn't really match the calculated geometric horizon. Doesn't mean that still the horizon doesn't block things behind it, though.
Hold on a second. It's got to be physical, though. I'm looking across my table at a chair, and it's blocking something in my view because that chair is physical. So where is this physical geometric horizon that blocks things?
How do you prove? How do you prove that it goes behind it? Because when I look at it, it seems like things are going into the horizon, not behind the horizon.
Yeah, meanwhile, we only have one horizon. And the horizon in the begging the question proof of nothing perspective hijacking Earth curve calculator is physical and geometric. The horizon we see in reality is not geometric and is not physical.
But still blocks things behind it.
It
Sorry,
can't block
stop.
things if it's non-existent, Arwin. The geometric horizon only exists in the maths. Therefore, something that only exists in maths isn't ever going to be physically blocking anything ever.
Well, it may appear that way, but in
All right,
reality,
No,
things do still
let him
disappear.
Let him go. He's wrong again. Not appear that way is depicted that way. So when you depict a geometric horizon that only exists in the maths. It is depicted without perspective in orthographic view. That would be side profile to the observation it's being compared or calculated for. Therefore, you see the side of your own head and the side of the target you're observing, as opposed to the photograph being analysed and put through the calculations, which will have a perspective view that does not include the side of your own head, and an omission of perspective in the mathematics. So it's not what appears. We only have one horizon, and the horizon that appears is not geometric or physical. The horizon that is depicted in their maths is physical and geometric and capable of a tangent being drawn to it. Our horizon in reality is not. The Earth has no sphere edge for a horizon. Earth curve is not represented at the horizon. The horizon is not Earth curve.
Black Swan, baby.
Hey, Arwen, can you do a right angle from 3,000 miles or 4,000 miles with a sextant? Can you do a right angle? Can you achieve a right angle with a sextant if the horizon is one object and the other one is the sun? Can you have two straight lines that covers 2, 3, 4, 5, 6,000 miles and still say it's curved?
Of course, you could say that.
Yeah, but the right angle, you know what a right angle is?
Yeah, my
Can
answer is
that ever-
yes. Of
Okay,
course, you
good.
could say that.
Can you function on a curved surface and say you still have a right angle, or do you need two straight lines for a right angle?
I don't know if you could function on it, but you could definitely say that it works.
Don't avoid my question.
I'm not.
I'm not saying say it. Can you achieve it in reality? Yes or no?
I don't know.
No, you need two straight lines to form an angle. You can't do it with a curved bottom.
Okay.
Good dog. Good dog.
Yeah, the Black Swan killed everything. It's over.
Shout out to Colin Dresser, who says with his super chat, Danny Jones, Hope Police, wants to join. Can we let him spew his nonsense for a few? Is the Discord server full? Thank you for the super chat, by the way, Colin Dresser. Not often people pay to have somebody else join, but there we go. Thank you very much all the same. Really appreciate the support. Somebody will have to bail to make space. 13 people are in the Discord server, so anybody who's not particularly keen on talking today, if you bail, there'll be a gap open for this person who wants to join. Danny Jones.
Oh, I'd love to hear from Danny Jones. Somebody drop out.
If they join the after show voice chat, one of the moderators can bump them in.
Or someone can just bugger off. It's up to you, but there's no obligation. You don't have to leave. It's entirely up to you. Thanks
Good
again
morning,
for the super chat.
Chocolate.
Did we have anything more on Earth curve? Sextant
Come on,
use,
guys.
navigation. Hey, Chocolate.
Yeah, it's measured flat, so it's not measured curved.
To measure it curved, John, what would you require?
A tangent to the horizon.
And their tangent to their horizon is based on what now?
The horizon being geometric.
Radius.
Any evidence to the R value? Earth radius.
None.
Do I need to pull out the same old story again?
What's the same old story? I didn't know we had a same old
Equating
story.
length.
Go on.
I don't know. I'm starting to tire myself out as Baldwin now. I'm having to repeat it over and over again because you keep forgetting.
Don't be Baldwin. Shout out to
Did we derive it from the celestial bodies?
Derive what?
Yeah.
The imaginary line,
The
the
R
horizon.
value.
He's purposing me already. Derive what? The imaginary line horizon? Equator?
Yes.
Yes. Shout out to Godzilla37. 5 years later, and finally, Danny, the first baller ever with a radius measurement. The wait is over, folks. Thank you very much for the super chat, Godzilla.
Well, where is he? I thought he was going to join.
Nobody's jumped out.
Come on, somebody jump out. If you're not participating in Discord, somebody step away.
There you go.
Well, I
Somebody-
can move anybody in. I just told them I
Somebody's
can move
got
them
a
into.
radius measurement.
Hold on.
Really?
Hello. Hold on. Who is it just talking? Was it Steve?
Yeah, I was just letting anybody know if they move in. I can move them into the room, so it's not. All they got to do is move in here, and I'll move them in.
I'm sure that makes sense to any Discord users. I wouldn't have the vaguest clue what to do based on that description, but that's all good. I'm not going to ask you to explain it. There's a gap anyway, so just click the link below in the info box if you're that guy, whoever you... I've forgotten the guy's name already, and I don't really care. But if you joined, great. We'll hear evidence for our...
They just have to join the queue part, and then the mod will move them down.
I see. Fair enough. Live stream queue. Gotcha.
Come on, Danny Jones. We're waiting for you.
I'm not. I couldn't care less.
I'm
Anytime.
salivating.
Yes, you guys
I
are very
want
keen, as always.
Well,
Also-
Ballin just got tired. We need Danny Jones now.
Hold
Just
on,
one-
Nathan, you're funny because you say that, and when they get on, you just hammer them, which I love.
Yeah, that is kind of the show that I run, no Neil. That is what we do here. We debate flat Earth.
No, but the way you say it, like you don't care, but then you come on, when they get on, then you hammer them. Like the other day when you said, I'm out, but you were back in. You were out, then you were back in. Very, very amusing.
Don't highlight what I do for dramatic effect, Neil. You're ruining everything.
Sorry.
I would like to point out that it's Nathan's show, and when they come here and they act like he's being rude, they're the ones coming into someone else's house and spouting nonsense that they can't back up.
I've got, since growing a couple more thousand subscribers, obviously there's lots of new people hanging around in the comment section, and I've been getting some really nice comments from people saying, yeah, I've just studied a bit of this and gone back through a few of the old debates, and from what I can conclude, these people are pricks, and the treatment they get is absolutely deserving based on their behaviour. And it's not like it happens immediately. It's not like you come and say you're a baller and just get abuse. So, there's been a few people that have said that in a roundabout way, in various different ways, actually, but similar sort of tone, to say, yeah, actually, if you spend any significant amount of time watching Flat Earth debate, you'll realise that I'm not just some unreasonable prick that immediately shouts at people with a ball belief. On the contrary, typically we do get to hear the entirety of their claim, and then normally what will happen is, upon rebuttal from me or anybody else trying to be put to them, that's when the chaos begins. In other words, they're happy when they're putting their crap across, but as soon as it's challenged, they want to interrupt immediately, normally multiple times. Anyway, hey Adam, how's it going?
Not bad. Afternoon, everyone.
Afternoon, good to have you.
Hello.
What's up, Adam?
It's a great word, chaos.
I'll tell you what isn't a great word. Structural.
Oh boy, you were going
There
at
we
it
go.
yesterday, huh?
That's fair enough.
Wow.
I actually love those kind of discussions, Neil. So when it comes to shows like yesterday, I enjoyed it. I kept the show open an extra hour, you'll notice. There was no fundies, yet the show went on quite a significant time longer than usual. Well, the reason behind that is because typically when there's no ballers around, we actually have the discussions that I actually want to have. In other words, obviously the door is still open and any old wanker can just burst their way in at any moment, which they do, right? But in the meantime, right, we're all good friends sat around talking about the bit of this subject that hopefully is fascinating, the bits that we don't know. So what don't we know? Well, we don't know how the second law of thermodynamics has as a cause, for instance. We don't know what the sky is. We don't know what the lights in the sky are. So there's quite a lot of things that we can investigate and discuss. And that sort of discussion usually leads to things being discovered. People actually doing something about it. Yes, you can sit around. Here we go. Go on, Paul. Yeah, I think he was just joining with his mic wide open. It's all good.
Yeah, I missed it yesterday because I was in traffic court. So I caught when you ended the show, they were still going at it, Adam and Brian and Owen. It was good though. I enjoyed it.
It expands the
Dude, that
understanding.
went on for an hour.
Yeah, but it expands the understanding of people's position when it comes to things like gravity. So if people have a misapprehension about what gravity is, and then you hear a really in-depth discussion about describing a second-order entropic effect, relative density disequilibrium in this instance, and you just sit and listen to that stuff, you realise, number one, with hopefully me concisely saying the whole time, look, we don't know the cause of this, that we don't know the cause, but ultimately that doesn't mean we're not intrigued. And when things are descriptively put incorrectly, as I think I hope Brian doesn't hear this and get really offended, I'm in total agreement with Adam. The word structure is not applicable, and Brian wants to apply it. It's like, well, you can do whatever you like, but I'm still going to challenge you if I don't agree, and that's precisely what Adam did. And, that's worthy discussion that expands your understanding and corrects people's misunderstanding. That's so useful. Contrast that with, 20 minutes of a fundy talking through me trying to actually concisely summarise their point without them even letting me summarise it before refuting it. That is considerably more entertaining for a lot of the audience, but it doesn't really take you anywhere. 9 times out of 10, you're just appealing to somebody to understand and appreciate an argument that a good chunk of the audience do actually understand anyway. They just want to hear the fundy have it actually put to them and see them squirm. Yeah, I get it. That's also educational, but I would say in percentage terms, it's more on the side of entertaining, because if you're a fan of the show and you've watched for a while, you'll get a lot of these arguments just from us chit-chatting away. And Baldwin, again, it gets a lot of crap, but without Baldwin, we wouldn't have this constant summary of the fundy position that gets put back to us. And that's also very, very useful. You've got a well-oiled machine here. Arwen's part of that.
Yeah, and I love doing it, actually.
Check it out. 2
Too
minutes
much.
ago, I hate
Too
being
much.
Baldwin. Now, I love
He
Baldwin.
just said he was tiring.
Dude, he had to wait for like 25 years, okay?
Any scientific evidence of gravity?
No.
Well,
Did you
first
say
you have to
he,
figure out what it is,
talking
and
about
then maybe.
Baldwin in the third person?
Yeah, he does that.
It's like the Queen, isn't it?
Hey, dude, sometimes Baldwin talks about himself, and sometimes Arwen talks about Baldwin. Sometimes Baldwin talks about Arwen, but that's too confusing to recognize.
Is there any mathematical evidence for gravity now? Because I'm yet to see that now.
You're saying in both regards they need a radius, therefore their mathematical description falls apart also with the failure of their geometry.
Yep, that's a problem.
Yeah. I mean, I'm never going to ask the question. No offence. I'm not going to say any mathematical evidence of gravity, because obviously that opens the door for people to assume that they've got an Einsteinian or a Newtonian explanation. Correction, Reverend John Michel, CV Boys Cavendish gravity, as opposed to Newton, who did not want it ascribed to him.
Also imply that maths is somehow accepted as evidence.
Precisely.
Well, the measurements is what's accepted as evidence, but they're using a mathematical description after they take a measurement of dropping something that they've picked up. Well, their description of what is happening is incorrect because there's no R value.
Yeah, can't have G without R. And the assumption that is justifiable by them in rebuttal is that, no, at rest, it's got a force applied of 1G, begging the question. Automatically assume the force is in place with nothing in motion, and then taking it out of equilibrium, in reality, for them, putting it into free fall is actually putting it into a zero state. 0G is falling. Perpetually falling around a presupposition of a sphere Earth is described as an orbit, merely a begging the question fallacy. What about any single viable hypothesis from any of the fields of astronomy, cosmology, or astrophysics? Asked because the sphere Earth claims they have science.
Oh, that's great. After that silence during the housekeeping question of gravity, I'll say black holes. Right?
What's a black hole?
It's black. Oh, what is it? What is it presupposedly? It's presupposedly a lot of mass that's being subjected to so much gravity because of its mass that it's going to implode matter and actually draw away light. So
I
that's
thought you need an R for gravity. They
No,
have
no.
no R value.
Where's this happening, Arwin?
Billions and billions of miles away.
Are
in a
you sure?
vacuum.
You sure it's not happening in a pseudo-Ramonian geometry known as force space?
No, they saw it one time. This black blip with
So
the
you just
light
sorry,
background.
you described having quite a lot of gravity affecting this, and that gravity is the bending of pseudo-Ramonian force space in this description, Arwin. So where are you gonna go now, Baldwin?
Well, it's black, isn't it?
Sorry,
So
where's this happening again?
what else is going to be strong enough to
Let's not
pull
skirt
the
this
light
question.
away?
Where's this happening again? Let's go a bit higher pitched. Where's this happening again?
Billions of miles away in outer space.
In pseudo-Ramonian force
space.
space, not in outer space. Right? What they describe with pseudo-force space geometry is this bending space-time you're describing. So this is happening in pseudo-force space, Arwin.
Well, I don't know about the pseudo force space, but I don't know anything else. I could not imagine anything else that would be strong enough to pull light away, right? Only
Where's this
gravity
happening
can-
again? Where is this happening? In pseudo-force space, Arwin?
No,
Yes.
no, we can see it.
What,
It's black.
bending space-time? The cause of this, according to you, a lot of gravity is happening. A lot of bending space-time is happening. That's this Einsteinian description of black holes. So, show me space-time, then show me it bending. Go, let's see it.
Can
Well,
I put it
show
back
me
to the
how
quote,
the
Ollie?
bending of space time is going to pull light away. You know?
I need to see it first before you tell me what it does.
Well, somebody look up the picture.
Well, that's what I wanted to address, Ollie. You say it's black, and if I could quote Ollie, well, the thing about a black hole is its main distinguishing feature is it's black. And the thing about space, the color of space, your basic space color is it's black. So how do you see it?
Because another sun is behind it.
Well, wouldn't it eat all the light from the other sun?
Yes, except
You
for
wouldn't see it then.
except for the light that does manage to get around it,
And it gets around it because...
because it is too distant from the pull of the gravity.
Bendy space-time,
able to
Arwin. That's right,
escape.
bendy. Yeah, bendy space-time. Yeah. Where's that happening again? Bendy space-time?
Well, you could see it in the picture.
No. That's you superimposing a mathematical description in Einsteinian pseudo-Ramonian force space onto something that you're claiming is a phenomena that matches with that maths. That's not a force or bendy space-time that you're showing me. That's a circular reasoning begging the question fallacy where you say this light because gravity and gravity because this light.
Yes.
No, it's happening in pseudo-force space. This is a place that isn't real. This is a description in maths.
Yeah, but we could see it. It was photographed. So it's not just pseudo-Ramonian force space. It actually happens in reality because we got a picture of it.
Okay, let's
So
just
you've
take.
got a picture of
Go on, Adam.
you've got a picture of space-time imploding on itself. That's what you've got a picture, or have you just got something black on a black background?
But the space-time thing is only a description, right? It's a mathematical description.
That's
But
our
we got a
argument.
picture of it, so it's real. It's real. It's not just in a mathematical realm. It's real because we got a picture.
It's an affirming the consequent formal logical fallacy, right? So you're saying, if bending space-time, that's your begging the question fallacy. That's your P statement. If P, if bendy space-time, then Q, phenomena of donut, light, and sky. Donut, light, and sky. Therefore, bendy space-time. That's what you're doing.
Well, sure. You know, we at least got something in the real world. We got a real picture. So, yeah, why not draw in the pseudo-Ramonian force space? At least
Okay,
we got
I'll
some
tell you.
solid evidence.
Sure. So if I come up with a description that's called hexadecimal space-time, just for the sake of argument, and I say Arwen, I have described this light in the sky that's very bright, brighter than the other stars, in fact. And in my hexadecimal maths, that brighter light is described as a white hole. Now, look, Arwen, there's that brighter light. Therefore, it's a hexadecimally described white hole, Arwen. Do you understand?
Yes, I understand. It sounds like a valid argument. I would...
So my logical fallacy sounds totally reasonable, even though I'm using it to contrast your logical fallacy, and it's fallacious. No, both my example and your fallacious example do not verify hexadecimal space-time or pseudo-4 space.
But it could.
No, it couldn't.
Why not?
Because it's a logical fallacy. The one doesn't follow the other. Just because your maths doesn't mean light in sky is your maths. Just because light in sky doesn't mean your maths if you reverse it. If P then Q, Q therefore P. If my maths therefore light in sky, oh look, light in sky therefore my maths.
But if the calculations works out, then why not?
Work, good word. Where's it doing the work for the black hole, Arwen? What work's being done by this abstraction, this description, this mathematics? What work can it possibly do, Arwen? When it's merely an abstract description, it doesn't do any work. It's just maths.
Now, we do the work using math in our minds, right?
Right, so calculating how much fuel it will take to run a tractor is very different to running a tractor, Arwen. So when you say, here's the maths for how much fuel, it works. Why the hell isn't the field been ploughed? The maths worked, didn't it? We knew exactly how much fuel it would take. Yeah, but the maths itself doesn't do any work, Arwen.
I don't know what to say about that.
Yeah, where's this
The
happening?
mathematics.
It's happening in pseudo-4 space, a made-up place that doesn't exist, that's merely a description in mathematics. And the segue, the assertion, the trick by any fundy who's been brainwashed to believe that gravity is some sort of force that can cause things and do work, is that this mathematics causes things, and it does not.
Yeah, but you still got the picture, though.
Well, back to
Can
the
you see
affirming the
screen,
consequent.
Owen?
No, we don't need it 4 more times. Go ahead, Adam.
I've just on screen. I've wondered if you could just point out for me. I've got a black hole in space on screen. Look, can you show me where the black hole is?
It's over there.
Yeah.
Right, the thing about a black hole, Arwen, the main defining feature of a black hole is that it's black. And the thing about space, your basic space colour, the colour of space is that it's black.
Yeah, but dude, we don't have to literally see the sun to know it's there, right? It could be behind a cloud. You can't even have a clue as to where it is, but we know it's there because that's how it happens, right? So yeah, you can see a black hole at times.
So when you say you can
I've seen the
see
sun.
a black hole, you don't mean you can actually see a black hole, do you? By that definitely, because there's nothing to see because all the light's sucked into it.
Right, but you see
So-
the contrast of it.
How do you distinguish that patch where there's no light coming from it from a ordinary bit of space which has got no light coming from it?
Well, you just wait until a star moves behind it in angular relation to you as the observer, and then you might see the contrast.
Got you. I take it back. So if star disappears, then black hole.
Well, yes, if there's a persistence to it.
If stars persistently disappear, then black hole.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
Yeah, there's a
Thanks,
problem.
Paul.
Now,
So,
why that wouldn't happen
one more thing.
with the moon, though,
One more
is
thing.
another matter.
One more thing. This tailed off any valid hypothesis from any field, astronomy, cosmology, or astrophysics, right? That was the question asked before this all kicked off. So you're describing a phenomena, are you not, Arwen?
A celestial phenomena, yes, I guess.
A phenomena nonetheless. So, if you're going to assert cause, there's a process for that, isn't there, Arwen?
What, you're going to make me do the scientific method now?
No, I'm saying that the reason we ask the question is because there's a lot of phenomena that occur. Let's just say, for the sake of argument, that I fall victim to your affirming the consequent if P then Q, if my maths then a black hole, and I accept it. Right, okay. So I now accept that your maths has a causal relationship with a phenomena in the light that is a light in the sky. Well, more fool me, because that light in the sky, a phenomena, has a means of validation of cause, and that would be the scientific method. That's its purpose, to elucidate the cause of a naturally occurring phenomena. So, if we've got a naturally occurring phenomena, what we need is hypothesis-based systematic experimentation. That would be science. So, if you're going to assert cause, I don't want to just sow story about the mathematics of pseudo-Riemannian force-space time bending. I'd like to see a varied, assumed cause validated by experiment. That's what science does, validates the cause of effects. Here's an effect you're describing, let's see it validated with a cause.
Okay. Well, that's going to be a little difficult, though, because to actually experiment with a black hole, you'd have to get into reach of its gravitational pull, right? And that means
Don't use your bloody begging the question fallacy to justify why you can't experimentally validate your assumption in the first instance that all of these effects that are going to cause you problems to validate it are going to suddenly be presuppositional effects that you need to be scared of. So what are you going to do, waffle on about bloody event horizons? Oh no, I can't get near it to measure it, event horizon? What, the thing wrapped up in the entirety of the maths of Einstein and the extrapolations of Stephen Hawking? You've got to be having me on. I'm not going to just accept some extrapolation of the begging the question fallacy to justify why you can't experiment with it. Why is this phenomena suddenly problematic in that regard because you've assumed all these things about it? Not at all. I don't accept that. It's just a bloody lie. Or a lack thereof in this instance.
Well, sorry, it was the only thing I could think of to escape actually engaging in scientific method, which I find very tedious.
What, whack another
And
layer
it
of
wasn't gonna
storytelling
work
on
out
top?
Anyway.
Yeah, another layer of storytelling, whacked straight on top of the original story layer. Original story layer. It's bending pseudo force space, causing light to bend around something. All right, where's this happening? Well, in my pseudo geometry, with a dimension that doesn't exist. All right. Oh, well, I see.
I was only following the standard playbook on how to deal with this, you know.
Indeed you do, Owen. Well-oiled machine, my friend. Any evidence of the distance to the sun?
It's over there.
It is in this picture.
Next to the black hole.
No. Thank God, no.
Just to the right of the black hole.
I was going to object to the use of saying that the math works because the math has a M1 value in it that's not measured, so it doesn't work.
Well put. I'm glad you summarised with that. Where are you getting your M1 in your pseudo force space?
That I would object there. I wouldn't use the word works. The maths does work. It just isn't validatable in reality.
It works within that convention, right? Just doesn't. You can't apply that to reality, like the really is level.
So then, how does it work?
It doesn't.
In that convention.
In that convention, in math, on paper.
But not in reality.
5 ice creams.
so you're
Nope.
just gonna
You
have
ask
to
for
settle
10.
for the
Somebody's only
convention.
holding 5. You can only give them, in reality, 5 ice creams because that's all you're holding. On paper, the transaction can be completed with a minus figure at the end of it. So on maths, in that convention, you can give someone 10 ice creams when you've only got 5.
Yep.
I think practically, John was right with regards to the equation. It's the simple fact that whilst we can assume R, we aren't able to validate it. Therefore, the equation isn't validatable to reality until we can take the parameters that the equation uses and actually validate them.
Yeah, you need R first. Yeah, that's right.
I think if a baller wants to use the argument of ice creams, negative and positive, the argument's a bit of a rocky road for them, if you know what I mean.
Short
man,
pause as
always
everyone
sprinkling
racks
his
their brain
puns.
for a pun to top that one and no one comes up with it.
Oh, I was trying to, but I got brain freeze.
Same here. Oh, damn! Damn, that was excellent.
Hold on, chocolate had a good one with sprinkling.
Well, I thought
Nah,
somebody
I got
would,
rumpus. I got rumpus.
I thought somebody would scoop it up quicker though.
As long as no one mentions
Yeah.
rocket lollies.
Chocolate ice cream for the win.
This is a Solero moment in the show, I would say.
Very good.
Didn't somebody have a radius or something they were going to come here with? What
Did
happened
that
to
dude
that?
join and I just miss him? I'll just check to see if everyone's off mute.
He's in Davy Jones's locker. He goes by Danny Jones. Come on, Danny boy.
He might have realized how important it was and then decided to just walk away.
Glitch effects. Hello.
Hello.
Hello. Good to have you.
Thanks. It's good to be here.
What's up, buddy?
Not much really. I just came here to listen.
Very cool.
Because you want to brush up your arguments against zealots who believe they're on a globe, or because you believe that we're all insane flat earthers who don't know what they're talking about?
No, I just came here to learn more about the flat Earth perspective. Just don't really understand it personally.
Oh, that's cool. Fair enough.
Why don't you try to? I guess you could start with just trying to understand your own perspective as far as your reality, how you experience the Earth. Because we don't have any more claims other than the Earth is what we experience it to be, right? Other than that, we don't make claims.
Well, how about we utilize perspective in our calculations of what the Earth's surface is like? How about
Perfect.
that?
So it's a good turn of phrase, the flat Earth perspective. Well, not that we have any reason to compare any photography with perspective. We're not asserting any model that needs affirmation by way of that particular effect. However, it is effects that we can see in reality. However, in Earth curve maths, that effect is very much excluded from the mathematics that are compared to optical photography that has perspective in it. So my question is, did you appreciate that when using curve maths, they place the view that you see in a photograph side on so you can see the side of your own head? And that effectively removes perspective from Earth curve calculations. Were you aware of that?
I was not aware of that.
Indeed. As a result, we have fondly named the curve calculator, begging the question fallacy within itself, but the begging the question, proof of nothing, perspective hijacking Earth curve calculator, because it takes a view like this I have on my screen for my audience right now, things getting smaller into the distance, that would be an angular size reduction, and replaces them with feet and inches values that don't change with distance. So when you see the side of your own head in Earth curve maths and you're asked questions about how it works or shown how it works, you're shown with a building or a boat that's got a feet or meters value ascribed to it. So they'll say, this building's 200 meters tall. Why is the 50 meters missing from the bottom? And what that effectively does is removes perspective, because the building remains the same feet or meters value regardless of how far it is away. So it could be 1,000,000 miles away, miles too small to see, and your globe believer with his hijacking of perspective mathematics can still draw a straight line to it and say, why are so many meters missing off the bottom? So yeah, there's no perspective in Earth curve assertions. None.
I feel bad for people that come into this subject honestly and try to ask questions, because one of the Glober tactics is to pretend to be someone asking questions when all they want to do is chant their belief structure.
Go on tone. You can normally hear it in their voice when, I don't know, this guy doesn't have me on any sort of alert. So he's either so relaxed about doing that he's come across genuine, or I just misjudged him. If he launches into a fundamentalist chanting session, again, he'd have talked through me already, would he not? if he was one of them.
Yeah, that's why I said I kind of feel bad for him, because that's one of the things he's going to run into when he tries to ask questions.
Yeah, depending on who you ask, you might come across somebody that just wants you to believe in their model. In other words, they want to be the new guru, and you'll have to follow them and their model and their thoughts and feelings, and woe betide you if you disagree. Or
Is he still here?
I don't know. I'm talking to the audience. There's loads of other
No, I
people
know,
that have
but
been told off mute. Yeah, he's
No,
still here.
I'm
Hey,
still
how you
here.
doing?
Go on,
How you
Tenth.
doing?
Go ahead, 10th.
Yeah. Listen, it's interesting because your curiosity is good here right now. Did you come to the show because the predominant worldview is that we live on the globe with a radius of 3959, and we're spinning at over 1,000 miles at the equator, and there's something to this thing called gravity? It's actually a force. Did you come here because that is in contrast to what you would think that a flat earther would say, and you want to know why we have a differing opinion or why we take the opposite side on those matters? What's your motivation?
Well, really, I just don't understand how you'd believe that we live on a flat Earth. That is, to my understanding, you believe it's not rotating at all.
Okay, so can I ask you a question?
Hold on, he's asking you. He says, "Do you not?"
No, I know. I'm going to answer him with a question. That assumes he thinks we are rotating and that we're not flat. So can you please show me Earth-based Coriolis? That if you can prove to me the Earth is rotating, then you're going to win that point with me. Can you prove to me the Earth is rotating?
Do you understand what's just happened? Glitch.
Yeah, he's asked me a question. I'm just trying to think of how I could prove it to him, but I'm
No,
not really
just
getting
prove it.
much.
Hold on.
Uh,
I just want to see if you appreciate that in this regard there's a positive claim and it's not ours. In terms of spinning especially, that's an outrageous claim that would need some sort of evidence to back it. And you're being asked, is there anything that you've got to back that claim, rather than saying, prove it isn't spinning?
Oh no, I didn't ask him to prove it. I just asked if he believed that's what it was.
Sure.
It's not a matter of belief. I know the Earth is not spinning because I know motion. I felt it in my life as a small child to my current age. The claim that the globe community has is that we are spinning, and I'd like to have some proof of that, or else that becomes a belief without proof. And isn't that where you find yourself because you're having a hard time proving it?
That's actually a good point. Yeah, but one question: what about when you put a gyroscope on the ground? You can see it over time. It rotates at 15 degrees an hour.
Well, can I ask you a question again on that?
No.
Is the Earth rotating, or is the Earth not rotating in your belief?
Yeah, the Earth's rotating.
Okay, if I get off the Earth, is the Earth still rotating, or does the Earth not rotate if I leave the Earth, say in a hot air balloon or helicopter or something that gets me off the surface?
No, it still rotates.
Okay, so if I get up in a hot air balloon and it's hovering, or a helicopter, shouldn't the Earth rotate underneath me and the destination come to me?
Well, no, because
Why
when you
not?
leave the Earth, you've still got the momentum with you that was imparted to you by the Earth, so you're spinning with it.
So the gyro
So if I leave,
maintains that as well then? So when you say the gyro's got Earth turning beneath it, what are you talking about? Does it not maintain the momentum? What are you talking about?
I got nothing to say to that.
But you're claiming that Earth turns beneath the gyro. Your original opening statement is to say Earth turns beneath the gyro. You've just affirmed with 10th Man that you understand and appreciate that Earth would continue to turn underneath. He gives you an example of a hot air balloon and says, should Earth not turn underneath then, if it's turning underneath as you claim it should and will? And you've said you've got proof of it with a gyro. So according to your claim, Earth's going to turn beneath stuff at 15 degrees an hour. That's Coriolis deflection. The effect is only observed if you turn underneath stuff. So for us to have this effect, you're claiming with the gyro, that's Coriolis deflection, we must see it in the hot air balloon. And you're saying, no, conserving momentum. It's like, well, that flies in the face of the Coriolis claim, that we'll see it drift. If it conserves momentum, we don't see Coriolis.
Yeah, it's a good point. I've got nothing to say back to that. I have no rebuttal. I'll have to do some more research and see if I can think of anything to go against that.
But then we're not spinning. The claim to prove we're spinning is that we'll see things drift at 15 degrees an hour. Like a gyro, like a pendulum, like a bullet or a football. They're claimed to have Earth turn beneath them. That's the claim that is supposed to prove we spin. But we just show you a hot air balloon and that's not happening. It's in the air for a long time. It's not attached anymore like bullets and footballs and pendulums and gyros. Separate reference frames, right? But then when a hot air balloon goes up, suddenly it's conserving the momentum. That makes no sense, because the bullet would conserve momentum, and the football would conserve momentum, and the gyro would conserve momentum, and the pendulum would conserve momentum. You know, you're flying in the face of the claim that Earth turns beneath stuff. So Earth's not spinning because we don't see that effect. It would be really obvious in a hot air balloon. It would just go up and the next continent along would come to it. It doesn't because we're not spinning.
Can I have a follow-up with him on that topic? So if you get up in a hot air balloon at the equator where it's spinning over 1,000 miles per hour, what's the momentum of that hot air balloon once it leaves the Earth?
I couldn't tell you.
Well, what's the speed of the Earth?
It's rotating 1,000 miles per hour.
Okay, you ever fallen off a moving bicycle or skateboard? You know what happens?
You fall down, you hit the ground.
Just like vertically direct, or do you retain some momentum because you're going at a certain speed and then you somehow get off of it? And or are you not retaining that momentum as you fall and you go into
Yeah.
really bad roll?
Yeah, he would retain the momentum.
So what would happen to that hot air balloon if it left the Earth at 1,000 miles per hour?
It would retain the momentum.
What would happen to it?
It would move with the Earth at 1,000 miles per hour.
No. It just left the Earth. The Earth is moving at 1,000 miles an hour. It leaves the Earth. What's happening to it? If it's retaining the momentum, what's happening to it?
I don't understand.
He's asking you to clarify your position. So your rebuttal initially was to say the hot air balloon retains the momentum, presumably, I'm putting words in your mouth, of the spin of the Earth that you assume. So you're saying, okay, what's it going to do then? That's what you said, retains momentum. However, I don't know why Tent's done that. We've already covered this, right? Earth's supposed to turn underneath the hot air balloon, and from the ground, we're supposed to see the hot air balloon move away in a curved trajectory because it's claimed we're turning beneath it. That's the only way we get to see the effect. So to have Coriolis, we must be turning underneath the hot air balloon, and we don't. So we don't have the effect. We don't have proof we spin. The rebuttal that it conserves momentum is an anti-flat Earth claim that is essentially saying we won't see any drift. We won't see 15 degrees an hour. It'll track along with the Earth. So what, nothing to see then? No 15 degrees an hour drift as claimed with your gyro. So you're fighting against the claim that we're supposed to see drift on a globe. That's the end of the argument.
I would like to point out to, I'd like to point out to him that the whether the Earth's spinning or the Earth isn't spinning, it's got the Earth as a ball in the question itself, because you have a radius that you're using for the axis of this spin. But we don't experience a radius. The Earth is measured flat.
So we're coming up to the end of this live show, but I'm actually going to extend this live show a little bit, just so I can do a little bit of extra e-begging. Tough times, man, tough times. Anyway, so there's going to be a little bit of a continuation to this live show. I know people are probably expecting me to round out, but no, I'm going to keep the show going. That, and this is the highest audience I've had in a considerable amount of time. I don't know why. Maybe it's because it's very hot. Who knows? 172 people watching at the moment, which is a very good number. So good to have you, everyone in the live audience. Smash the super chat and PayPal link to support this channel. I need it more than ever. I'll bore you in the after show and pre-show. But yeah, this dude that's here now, Glitch, you know, are you happy to move on from curvature? From axial rotation, my bad?
Yeah, I'm happy to move on.
Cool. At the end of the summary for axial rotation, John pointed out that the assertion in the first instance is going to have a radian value in terms of the assertion of the rotation. And you'd need a radius value to acquire that. And we've debunked the mathematics that I described as showing you the side of your own head and giving you perspective omitting feet or meters values that don't change with distance for targets. Well, that very same mathematics to assert those feet and inches values that don't change with distance being hidden by Earth curve, the Earth curve itself has an R value that we've debunked based on imagery that shows that the Earth curve, that would be the horizon in those maths, is beyond where it can be physically. So physically incapable of being Earth curve anymore. Or to summarise, because that was quite a lot of information all at once, we've debunked the assertion that the horizon is Earth curve. Again, were you aware that the horizon, assumed to be Earth curve if you're a person on a globe, has been debunked as Earth curve? Did you know that?
No, I didn't know that.
Okay, so we only have one horizon. And the geometric horizon, that's Earth curve, only exists in Earth curve maths. It does not exist in physical reality. Now, that's a statement from a globe defender when defending his globe maths. The geometric horizon only exists in the maths, and the geometric horizon is Earth curve. In reality, we have a position where the sky appears to meet the land or sea, not a physical Earth curve edge. We've debunked that. Just so you know.
Can you explain how we debunked it, Nathan? Maybe he does not know.
I can rattle off the Black Swan argument. If the Earth was a sphere with a radius of 3959 miles, then every distance measurement to that horizon, that's Earth curve, could be no more than 1.2 times the square root of the observer's height in feet. So in the Earth curve maths, when you move your elevation up and down and it changes the tangent point, that's the 1.2 times the square root of the observer's height in feet bit. Now, the distance to the geometric horizon, if it were one, has been breached by images that are labelled the Black Swan. That is to say that they show beyond all certitude that the horizon is beyond those physical limitations of an Earth sphere radius 3959 depicted in the mathematics. Therefore, the horizon's not Earth curve, and you can't acquire an R value for Earth curve. Thank you for presenting, Adam. So we've debunked Earth curve, the horizon, and the horizon is not Earth curve. On screen now for my audience, Black Swan. Bye-bye, ball. Platform habitat 9.41 miles, and platform hill house at 6.21 miles. The geometric horizon, if we had one, would be at 1.2 miles. That's before the frame of this picture. It would be obscuring things into the distance with its physicality, and in this image, the horizon, we've only got one, is beyond 10 miles, beyond platform habitat at 9.41 miles. So the horizon is not an Earth curve edge as depicted in the maths. It's beyond those limitations by a massive margin. So we don't have a physical Earth curve edge for a horizon. This image debunks it. We only need one, because as soon as you're beyond the limitations of a physical geometric sphere edge, that's game over. Can't be beyond a physical rock's limitations.
So, Nathan, you're saying that one of those platforms are 9.41 miles and the other one is 6.21 miles, and the horizon is behind that?
Yes. Therefore, the horizon is not Earth curve.
You understand that, Glitch?
Yeah, I understand that.
So,
Well, that
go on, John.
I was going to say this is the knife edge. You know, this is where, in his mind, he'll have to make a decision whether he's going to be anti-flat Earth or believe in a globe. You know, that's where the decision comes down to. Are you going to accept that what we measure is flat, or are you going to believe that it's curving somewhere that you can't measure?
John, he may not know
No.
your past, how you were once a ball believer, and the lack of the measurement caused you to change your mind. You mind sharing that in another 30 seconds for him?
Well, yeah, like I thought we were measuring Earth curve with that geometry. You know, I thought that it was locally flat, but you know, it was a ball because the horizon was a tangent point, and we could measure, you know, geometry. But we don't. It's not. All we have is the measurements of it flat.
Indeed. So without Earth curve, that would be a horizon to claim blocks, boats and buildings. Ironic, as the false dichotomy flat Earth society assertion is to say that we have boats falling over the edge, when in reality Earth curve mathematics has boats falling over an Earth curve horizon edge. And then the question is asked, why are so many feet and inches missing? Answer, because it's gone over the Earth curve edge. No, the horizon is not Earth curve. It has been debunked. All bets are therefore off as far as being on a sphere. There is no sphere beneath your feet in terms of what you measure, in terms of what you navigate, in terms of what you observe. It is obviously flat. Just one more thing
How
for
do you
you.
feel about that?
No, I don't care about how it feels. Last but not by no means least, because we didn't cover it in housekeeping. Were you under the impression, Glitch, that there is an area above your head that is a vacuum where they travel to lights in the sky?
Are you talking about space? Because yes, I believe in that.
Okay. Are you familiar with entropic law or the second law of thermodynamics? It's okay if you're not.
I'm vaguely familiar, but not too much.
Okay. If you had a gas canister in your hand right now and you chopped it in half with a samurai sword, would you understand and appreciate that the gas would not remain in the shape of the container that it was in? It would merely fill the available volume it had to fill. In other words, disperse into the room. Do you understand that?
Yes, I understand that.
So do you also appreciate that gas, by nature, expands to fill any volume it has to fill?
Yes.
Do you appreciate that if the sky was a vacuum, it would be an area for gas to fill?
Yeah.
So if the sky was a vacuum, the gas we breathe would fill that space and we would all be dead. The sky vacuum is fake. Outer space is not real.
He's taking it better than I would have.
He could be crying on the other end of the mic for all I know. I don't know. I was taking it.
No, that was put so concise that you can't do anything but think about it.
You
I
would
raged
never
for
be able
3
to
years over
develop a
this.
gas pressure atmosphere in the first place.
It's a good question, Rams. Can you repeat that, please?
You would never be able to develop the atmosphere in the first place.
So, Glitch, do you understand what Rams has just said?
Yeah, you wouldn't be able to develop an atmosphere because all the particles would just fly out.
Not exactly.
Yeah.
He didn't say atmosphere, he said pressure. So, or did you? I hope I haven't corrected that incorrectly. Anyway, either way, if he did or he didn't. Atmosphere is part of the language used to effectively brainwash you into sphere assumptions at every corner. That's a bit of a bad turn of phrase. Sphere assumptions at every corner. I've done it now, so I'll keep with it. Anyway, atmo, that's air. Sphere, that's a fundamentalist religious presupposition that air takes the shape of a sphere rather than filling its containment. So air isn't sphere-shaped. Gas inherently has no shape. It takes the shape of its container. So to say that atmosphere is to say the sphere-shaped air does blah, blah, blah. And there's all sorts of atmospheric laws. Because atmosphere isn't something that's real, it's something that only exists in a model. The heliocentric model with pseudo-geometry and air in a sphere in a vacuum, not dispersing. Just to finish this point off. The dispersion of gas into an availability of volume is described with something called the second law of thermodynamics. That's an entropy increase, that description of gas filling space, calculable, if you will, with the number of available microstates in what would be 10 to the minus 17 torr vacuum if we had a sky vacuum. So we could calculate how it would fill the space with entropic effects, i.e. dispersion. And the fact that we have gas to breathe means that is not an available space for gas to fill. It would fill it. So space is fake. Further to that, every claim from that region, that would be outer space, a sky vacuum, is automatically fake. So including but not limited to the horizon being a bendy, also debunked at ground level, Earth curve edge that you can see from quote-unquote Narnia, space, a place that isn't real, they're all debunked. So the same applies on the ground. If Earth's a sphere radius 3959, every distance to horizon could be no more than 1.2 times the square root of the observer's height in feet. That applies when they show you fake images of Earth from space. That's just a horizon they're showing you. And we've debunked that as Earth curve. But the area they're claiming to take that fake Earth curve non-physical horizon from is also a fake place. So there's no trips to measure the vastness of the universe. There's no Voyager. There's no trips to the moon. There's no trips to the sun. There's no space. Just so you know.
Hello, can you hear me?
We can. Hello, world. Good to have you.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, so I know that you mentioned that like gas is regenerated at the surface of the Earth, right? And so I know also that when you go hiking, like at high altitudes, you say that the Earth the air that you breathe is thinner, right? Is that true?
Yeah.
So I guess my question is like as you go higher up, since the gas is regenerated at the surface, there's less of it as you go high. And so does it just keep getting thinner as you go up? Is it like really thin at some point? Is that like where the firmament is? Is where in the air is very thin?
Well, that's what we observe. You've already answered your own question in that regard.
Oh yeah. So like if it gets really, really thin, could there be a point where there's like almost no air, no gas?
Well, like a
And maybe
vacuum.
that could help the firmament stay. Well, I'm not saying that the firmament could be more stable at that point because then you wouldn't have to account for like corrosion and things like that. I don't know if this is making sense. I'm just kind of
Not
thinking
really.
about how
I mean,
this thing will
I
work.
don't know is the answer. I don't know what the containment is. I just know that we have gas pressure. And to have gas pressure, we must have containment. So I'm sorry I can't give you a better answer. You're saying firmament. I don't know what that is, and I don't ascribe to any firmament. I just know that we've got gas pressure. Therefore, we've got to have containment, or we wouldn't have the gas pressure.
I'm silent.
Neil telling us that
Yeah,
his
okay. I think
Neil telling us he's
sorry,
silent.
I-
His acknowledgement that
Have
he
you
hasn't stepped in and tried to chant about the firmament that he believes in. Also,
Have you ever observed a bottle garden?
I think that's directed at you. Hello, world.
What kind of garden?
It's called a bottle garden. You can look it up. I've seen some where the guy has had it going for over 20 plus years. So it's a big bottle. I mean, really big. He's put soils in there, different types of vegetation, and he puts a big old cap on the top, a cork or something to create the container. And then this bottle garden is allowed to go through the same things we experience, evening, morning, sunlight, all that stuff, but it's isolated in this bottle. Everything's in the bottle. And it steams up, it rains in there, it's growing and it's flourishing, but it's all contained. So here we got a dynamic system on the earth where the gas is produced at the ground level through the plants and everything else. And the best question is, the one that I love the best about this is, where'd you get the gas pressure in the first place? Not so much how thin does it get near the firmament, it's how'd you achieve it in the first place?
Right. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, I've actually heard of these. I heard of some that, you can have like a shrimp or something, right, in a ball, right? It's a shrimp in the water in the ball, and it kind of survives and things like that with the plankton and things like that. I think that's kind of the same thing you're talking about. I guess the firmament that I was describing, I think, relates to the skylights, right? We if we look at the night sky, we see uh, skylights. You can observe them moving. If you
Where'd
look
you
at the
get
sky long enough.
where'd you get
Hold on. Go ahead. Does that mean firmament, though?
I guess I'm not sure. I think I had heard a lot of models for flat Earth that have some kind of dome structure, but I think that it's not really known. But I think what is known is that we can see the skylights move across as we look at the night sky.
Yeah.
Do we see them move?
Yeah. We can describe what we see, but in terms of what is the container? So on screen now we've got Spaceballs version of their dome around a sphere Earth, right, to stop the vacuum getting the gas. Yeah, how ironic. Well, that as described as a glass dome around something, I can't give you that answer. Now, there's plenty of people who have a biblical understanding of the description thereof when it comes to the Bible, and fine, more power to you. But the honest answer, sorry, Tenth and Neil, if you find this offensive, is you don't know. Now, you might think you know, and you might think you've got a description from the Bible, but you don't know. What you do know is you're breathing. And therefore, there is definitely containment. What that is, I don't know.
Well, I would agree, but disagree at the same time, because he mentioned firmament. I'm wondering where he got the word firmament, and does he know that it's a biblical reference? So if I could just go with him, I want to know what he thinks about that.
Right. I
So
think
if it's a
I meant firmament in the sense that it is a way to, as a description of a container, I suppose. It's like an example of a container, something that
yeah,
maintains the
exactly.
Yeah, I
opposite
don't
side.
think he was
There's the
referring
earth
like
side is
Bible
one side of the
wise.
container, and then there's like the opposite side, which would be the firmament.
No, I'm actually going there, chocolate, with him. It is a container of some kind, and it is referenced in the Bible. But what shape it is, I don't know. All I know is it contains. What's it containing? Well, we can't have gas pressure without containment, so ideally, it's probably working to affect that. But then if you say, what does the Bible say about the stars and the moon and the sun? Well, that wasn't created until the fourth day. The firmament was created on the second day. And the biblical record for the sun, the moon, and the stars was created on the fourth day and put inside the firmament. Now, inside the firmament obviously could mean many things, but it's definitely not outside the firmament. And we have the sun transiting, so the sun is moving because the earth is not spinning. But what happens to the stars?
Yeah, I think maybe that's like one area I was wondering is the skylights. I believe in some models are on the container that is not the Earth, right? So you have the Earth side and then you have the container side, and the skylights are on the container, or I think I think Mark Sargent describes it as a almost as a screen maybe or some display. But I was wondering maybe if the skylight, if watching the skylights could be used to show the shape of the container.
No. So I've discussed this with Mark Sargent. It's a tool used to get somebody who's in a paradigm that's been rooted in their brain since basically birth to have a way of visualizing, conceptualizing a completely paradigm changing idea of how the world might be, and a way of encompassing that with what I think are very poor, not Mark's fault, explanations for some of the questions that might arise immediately, and immediately stand in your way or make you into an anti-flat earther on the spot. So rather than leaving those questions unanswered, he has a model. Now, models are useful, they are useful tools, but they are not the world we live in. The world is not a model. So regardless of what Mark's model or anybody else's model shows you, that isn't the world. To believe that it is number one reason why we're in the problems that we're in, because people don't appreciate that a model, heliocentric model, is just a way of perceiving how things might work. It's not the world we live in. We don't move around the sun, it's preposterous. But that's just part of the model and its description of how the world operates in that model. Now, it's trying to explain or correlate the lights in the sky with that model, and so is Mark. But Mark understands at a fundamental level that it's a tool as opposed to his way of saying this is the world we live in.
I would
Yeah, thanks.
echo
Yeah,
that in
I
terms
think
of
that
Mark.
makes sense.
I wanted to just to say it. He doesn't get grief off us lot because he's quite honest in terms of the model, and he's also, for me, dealing in a very different realm. He's like probably the reason you've got to hear. But when you are here, then we're honest enough, like Nathan did just earlier, enough to say actually we don't know, but also we don't need a bullshit. And there are biblical people here, and I'm not one of them in the Christian sense, but there's still a lot of information that's yet to be disproven within the Bible. So you could use that to give yourself, like I say, a paradigm, a structure to something, especially if you hold the Bible the way some people do, then it's going to have more reverence to it. But I think the honest point of where we're at is we would say, I don't know. And I think 10th would and Neil would, but it'd be, but I've got a much better guess because I know the Bible is true. So for them, they've got more. But I think from a straight flat earth point of view, religion aside, there is the honest answer is we don't know. We'd love to find out. It's going to be great when we do, but we don't know.
What we know is that it's containment. I don't know what the shape is. I don't know what it looks like. I have clues, but it's not other than that. But the whole question is, how can you have gas pressure without containment? So the heliocentric model would have you right next to 10 to the minus 17 torr vacuum of space, and the gas particles wanting to hug the Earth and not fill the vacuum. Well, that's not how gas works. So how can you be a baller? How can you be a heliocentric model person if you really understand gas pressure? Like Nathan said earlier, atmo, air, sphere. Well, saying air takes the shape of a sphere. Well, please show me that. Air takes the shape of a container.
Right. Yeah, because even you're saying that even though as like the as you go high, the gas gets thinner, but it can get thinner and thinner and thinner, and you can keep measuring that it gets thinner and thinner. But
that's
there is
gradient
still
effect.
some
Yeah,
some point
the
there's
problem
some
with that, my friend, is that you're
Hold on,
talking about
guys,
the pressure.
hello? Can you not hear him talking? Go ahead.
Yeah, so as you go high, the gas gets thinner and thinner. And while you can measure that it gets thinner and thinner, you're saying at still some point there must be a containment at that to contain the very last bit of gas at the highest point that there can be until you reach the container. Am I summarizing kind of
Not the highest bit,
idea?
just at all.
There's the old phrase necessary antecedent. Yeah. We accept we have got gas pressure, and for all of natural law, the necessary antecedent to have that pressure is containment. What that containment is, no idea. But following natural law, everything we do know in reality, containment is required, as you alluded to earlier. We wouldn't keep an atmosphere.
I think one of the things he's a bit confused about is the gradient. He thinks that it's going to gradiate off to the point where gas no longer tries to fill the available space. And that just doesn't work.
But the reason why you have that is because you have
We
containment.
we do have a measurable low-grade vacuum or pipe. It's about 10 to the minus 2 to 10 to the minus 3 torr. We do have that going off of independent weather balloon launches. Now, it depends. It depends. It might vary a little bit with different balloons, with different people using different instruments made by different companies, but it's about the same. But that is all created by the sun. You cannot have either temperature, pressure, or a vacuum without a container. It's impossible to create any of those. The sun is responsible for the gas pressure gradient.
Right, you said a good thing there, where it was measured. The equipment was strapped to a balloon. So the balloon is still working up there at that low torr. Yeah, it's still working as a balloon. Just shows you how thick the air is down here, but it's still working as a balloon up there.
Eventually, they do break. They do break, but it still works as a balloon up there. There's no evidence for the man there. There is no evidence of anything past about 30 to 36 miles. There's absolutely zero actual evidence. After that, you have to listen to NASA. You have to believe whatever NASA says, because after that point, there is no way to get past any measurement. You won't get any actual measurement past that point. Everything past that point is a calculation that's based on a heliocentric model. But as I said, you can't have pressure, temperature, or a vacuum without a container. None of those three things can be attained without a container. A container is the antecedent for those three things. And the sun creates our gas pressure gradient. The sun is responsible for the gas pressure gradient. If the sun went away for a day, the gas pressure would equalize.
Did you say there is a vacuum up there?
There is a low-grade vacuum, a measurable low-grade vacuum, 10 to the minus 2 to 10 to the minus 3 torr.
Don't get too excited about the terminology. Arbitrarily assigning a certain amount of gas pressure, that would be gas at pressure, as a vacuum, merely arbitrary definitions. How many minus torr you've got? Yeah, that's just ascribing a description and saying that amount of gas pressure is actually a vacuum.
It's describing a number of molecules, but as I said, just fundamentally, from reality's point of view, you can see the balloon up there working as a balloon still. So there's enough gas up there to hold the balloon up there to give that balloon buoyancy with whatever's strapped to it. Yeah.
Big shout out to Noel Watson, just one sec, for joining as a channel member. So thank you very much for joining as a channel member, Noel Watson. I'll do a little bit of e-begging on this extended live show in a minute.
When you use that term, there's a vacuum up there, now you're giving an opportunity for an anti-flat earther to jump all over you.
That opportunity was always there. How they describe and detail what they consider a vacuum and say, I've travelled up to this area and look, I can show this measurement of this amount of gas pressure, and we call that a vacuum. I win. Do you not think we haven't heard that? You're kidding me, right?
So it's just arbitrary, like how you guys talk about how a G unit or like a gravity unit is when you're sitting there. Like that's just arbitrarily assigned. And then 0G is when you're falling.
Yeah, within the convention of gravity. Falling at 9.8 meters per second, right? In a perpetual motion. Well, that's 0G. What do you mean 0? Well, constantly falling at a rate. That's constantly falling, so therefore that's 0. Well, why is it? Well, because I say so. And when you're sat there doing nothing, you've got 1 on you. 1 what? 1G. Have I? Yeah. Why? Well, because I said so. Oh, okay.
But it's not like a ruler if you have a ruler and you're measuring something and you measure an inch and then you're like, oh, now I'm measuring 0. There's nothing here. And then I'm backing it to, because in my mind, like if you say it's a vacuum, it's like -0 or -1.
No, you can't have negative pressure. So even in a Torr value, you're measuring the amount of collisions in a given area. So a rate of how much something's going to collide with something else is pressure. That's a measure of pressure. Doesn't matter if it's PSI or Torr. You're saying, how many times will I have a collision on the walls of the container? That's the Torr value. Well, it might be very, 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 very limited. 10 to the minus 17 Torr, an exponentially limited number of collisions. Yeah? Well, that stands in violation of natural law, because when you've got a vast availability of volume, the gas just fills it. What I'm saying is, in a contained, just let me round that up. What I'm saying is, in a contained system, as we have, or must have, a contained system, it doesn't mean that you can't still reach low pressures. You can. But for the pressures to get to that low level, you first got to have gas pressure. For that system to develop to a point where you can have a very low pressure at a certain point for whatever reason, still needs containment for that to happen. Sorry, Adam, go ahead.
No, it was just the point you raised, important to realise that there's no such thing as negative pressure. And when you hear these descriptions with a Torr unit, 10 to the minus 2 and 3, that doesn't mean it's negative. You can't have minus molecules. What it's talking about is basic numeracy, 10 times, or divided in this case because you're using minus, so it becomes 0.002 molecules per unit. Now, obviously, you can't have 0.02, but that's how you describe it mathematically. You'd have to increase the volume to explain how you've got 1 molecule. So at no point is there ever a negative. That's just in terms of the mathematical way of describing the decimal place. It's nothing to do with negative pressure, which can't exist.
Did you follow that? The -17 bit is just how many times you move the decimal place.
It's kind of breaking my brain a little bit. I'm hung up.
Each time you move the decimal place, it's 1 order of magnitude less. So 0.1, and then 0.01, then 0.001. Yeah? Each time you move that decimal place, or add a 0, sorry, you're increasing the order of magnitude. Make sense?
But if I was a baller, I would be like, okay, then there's like a universal container that you're infinitely moving into, 0 pressure.
Yeah, sure, and they've got a value for that. What's that beeping? Wow. They've got a value for that, though, haven't they? They've got an area of space. So then you go, okay, fine. Now we can take the gas pressure that we experience, even if you say, all right, well, in that area where they've got a very low pressure, this is an old argument, man, I'm going back a bit to do this. What's it pressing on the top? So you say, oh, it's very, very low pressure up there. Okay. Yeah, but it's still got to press on something. So what's it pressing on? Well, it's got the weight of the air above it pressing down on it, is what they used to tell us. And you're like, well, there's no air above it pressing down on it. There's a vacuum that it can move into. Even though it is what you call a very weak vacuum, if you will. Still pressure. Still got to press on something. And if all you can do is calculate the volume that it's got to fill, that would be the volume of space. So suddenly you've got all of this gas pressure that we were experiencing and breathing with a massive amount of space to fill. So what's going to happen? Well, an entropic effect. It'll disperse. The entropy will increase. It's a law of nature. So we'd all be dead. So this nitpicking over gas pressure gradients, it's like it doesn't matter. Even if you get to a very, very, very low pressure, it's never going to reach the orders of magnitude that they describe as 10 to the minus 17 torr sky vacuum. But even if you did have a very, very low pressure, it's still got to press on something.
Yeah, that was what I was trying to say, is that at no point will, just because you have such a low pressure, will it stop trying to fill the available space. Like, it's not just going to quit acting like gas.
You know, we've heard this, I've heard this so many times. The baller concept is that if we're in a container, it's got to be equal pressure at all places in that container. What they're missing is the fact that we're a dynamic system within a containment. And all the air is produced at ground level. And as it makes its way up, Nathan has said, do you see any vegetation on the high mountains? No, we don't. We don't see trees. We don't see anything producing oxygen in the high mountains. So as it keeps going up, then you got Brian coming in and sharing with us about how the sun, and when the sun goes away, the night affects all this. Then you got Adam telling you that it's a number of molecules are less up there versus the number of molecules down at Earth level where it's being produced. They got to get this idea out of their mind that if we're in the containment, it's got to be equal pressure at every part of that container, especially when you've got a dynamic system and the sun heating half the day, basically, and then cool at night. Things change.
Indeed. Go on, Chocolate.
If we,
Over to Brian.
I was shocked. Oh, sorry. The only two things that can manipulate gas and its behavior is, number one, a container, and number two is temperature. Now we have constant temperature changes, but we have the highest temperature at the base and the lowest temperature high in the sky. Now you can't have temperature without a container. You can't have pressure without a container, and you can't have vacuum without a container. So it is impossible to have a gas pressure gradient without a container. Because to have a gas pressure gradient, you need a container and you need a change in temperature. And you can't have temperature without the container. So this nonsense about how we have a gas pressure gradient means that it continues to dissipate and become, or to go lower in pressure and become 10 to the minus 17 torr out in the middle of heliocentric space, is a load of rubbish. You can't have that. You can't have a gradient without a container. And you can't radiate the gas then without temperature.
Perfect. Adam,
these are just physics facts.
Adam, did you have a point that you wanted to add? If you have, I'm hoping you'll hold that thought.
I'll hold that thought.
Perfect, because I'm going to do an urgent e-begging appeal. So as administrative errors go, I've made one, and it's caused me to be slightly financially screwed. Hopefully temporarily if I can correct the error, but it doesn't change the fact that I've made a mistake and it's caused me problems. So if you were considering supporting me, just so happens that now is the time that I'd really appreciate it more than ever. Not that I don't appreciate everyone who supports me via the Super Chat and via Patreon and via PayPal and all that good stuff. But if you were considering supporting me at the moment, I really would appreciate it, because I've ended up losing several £100 due to an error that I've made filling out a form, which isn't anybody's fault, but nevertheless, it's very difficult to run a YouTube channel, even if you've got a massive audience, and make you a living and do it full time. I do this full time with a relatively small channel, so times are always tight, and occasionally that means I have to e-beg. Humiliating though it is, it's just the way of life. So if you were considering hitting that PayPal link in the info box, now is the time to do so. I'd really, really would appreciate your support. And so that this doesn't get left in deafening silence, I'm now going to ask Adam to carry on with the point so it doesn't really interrupt the flow of this discussion. But thank you everyone who supports me. If you did happen to want to hit the PayPal link, I'll say it one more time. It's in the info box. Don't be shy. Shiny, shiny buttons. Go ahead, Adam.
Okay. Yeah. Well, first of all, smash that super chat. Secondly, I totally agree with everything Brian's saying. I think from a flat earther's point of view, that the humility point again, have to come in and you have to say, I don't know with certain aspects, because what we've described is an ever increasing gas pressure. And we do know it's a dynamic system. So I would suggest whatever's going off at the top is balancing this out. You know, we can see that this containment, we can see we're producing gas constantly at the bottom level. That explains a lot of stuff. There's got to be a lot of stuff we don't know that's going off at the top. And I've got no problem with that because, yeah, but they're things to find out. But as Brian said, it makes perfect sense. If you think of the sun as a thermal spoon within this container, you can see why it's being agitated. It's turning at quite a fantastic speed, isn't it, as it thermally changes across the plane. So we know lots about the system, but there's still lots to learn, is what I'd say. But what we do know is that it requires containment.
So we're normally reaching the point time-wise where the live show would end, and I'd probably be looking to round out the Uncut and After show. So if you're not already subscribed to my second channel, you don't have to be a member to see the Uncut and After show. You get it a day early, or if it's a weekend, sometimes 3 days early. But it still goes out eventually on my second channel. So subscribe today. I'm sure there's links for that as well below. But on the Uncut and After show, typically when we get to about the 2-hour mark, that'll be when some person who's, let's not be derogatory, partial to a bit of globe belief will jump in. So I've kept the show live. Is there anybody in Discord that had anything they wanted to object to or maybe chant through us? Feel free. Check you're all off mute while I'm doing this. I'm not sure you are.
Yeah, I just want to say, yeah, thanks for all the responses. I think an interest. I think someone mentioned the weather balloon measurements. I think that's an interesting point, right? That if we could build a better weather balloon, we could take measurements even higher up and measure even lower points of pressure and kind of understand more from there, I guess.
Well, if you could go higher, that's the problem.
Hold on, I just need to get in control of this guy. See if he actually wants to say something. His mic's wide open, and every time I take him off mute. Sign, can you hear us? Sign, can you hear us? No, somebody's just removed him. Fine, good. Sorry about that. Okay, you're all off mute in Discord. If anybody wants to add anything, now's your opportunity. Feel free.
I just want to play baller for a second.
Okay, fair enough, Eric.
So I would just like, if I was that still a baller, I would just be like, well, maybe the place that they're claiming to go to is a container. It's just a super massive container, like the edge of space is the container, and that the gas pressure is remaining here because of the sun. And then the reason the gas isn't expanding super far out into space is because the temperature is so low that the gas is expanding out there, but it's going so slowly that it still stays in the dynamic system and gets brought back down by all the changing dynamic system. That's just how I would
Brought
think.
back down.
Then they wouldn't call it a vacuum of space, then, would they?
No.
Exactly, and that's not what they're
Hold
saying.
on. What you've described is a violation of how gas actually behaves, though. So for it to slow down, stop, and come back down again, you'd have to reach absolute zero.
But wouldn't it be able to get, because the temperature would be so low that the speed would get so low that it could like bounce off of the other air molecules. So the air coming out behind it could like bounce off the preceding air molecules.
It depends. Are you arguing from a globe perspective, i.e. there's no particulates to bounce off of and 10 to the minus 17 Torr vacuum, there's nothing, what are you going to bounce off? If you're saying it's going very, very, very slowly, yeah, in whatever direction it's travelling, okay, let's say I accept this, okay, it slows down. It's still travelling in one direction until it collides with something though, isn't it? So all of the gas that we experience is just going to follow the effects of entropy, and we're going to still lose all the gas. You saying it slows down, well, it's still going in that direction. It's not, as you describe, reaching zero and then coming back down again. That's not how gas behaves.
But gas is being created here, so like it can be created over and over again.
Yeah, but hold on. Have you got any idea if to sustain gas, if it was ever increasing into the sky vacuum with dispersion, we'd have hurricane winds coming out of the ground just to keep us maintained with gas pressure at that rate. It's ludicrous.
That's I was just going to say. That's that big fan belief again.
Yeah, but Eric, hang on one second. Eric, you got to realize their claim is an open system. You're describing a closed system.
Well, I'd like to scale that back for a second. Think of yourself on the highway going 70, and there's somebody going 40 and you rear end them. Are you going to fly backwards?
No, but I would, if it kept happening over and over again, it would create a barrier for. But cars don't bounce off of each other. If it was a bunch of balls, then maybe like a big rubber ball that was stopped, and then another one crashed into the back of it and bounced back.
Sure, but the rate that this would occur is proportional to time and described with entropy.
Yeah, I know. I'm just trying to, because this new vacuum thing that Brian said, it's got my mind thinking, and I'm just trying to think about it. I don't know.
Yeah, but
okay.
you're making a fatal flaw here.
New vacuum thing.
No.
The fatal flaw you're making is describing it as a closed system rather than their claim that it's an open system. The vacuum of space.
Yeah, but the closure would be at the edge of the universe. That's where the
they don't
closure
claim that.
Can I just make a point with regard to this thing that Brian said and this -3 or 2 torr up there? The balloon weight and all the weight of the equipment is still less than the volume, that it's occupying in terms of the weight, the mass of the air that's in there. Yeah, it still has buoyancy up there. There's still loads, even though 10 to the -2 sounds really small. There's still enough to give that and all the equipment buoyancy.
Do you all follow what Adam's saying? He's saying that even at 10 to the -2, there's enough particulate gas to smack against stuff to keep it buoyant. In other words, there's loads of gas pressure at that level. Calling it a vacuum is arbitrary.
Yeah. Can we make a bigger balloon or a stronger balloon and take measurements? If we had a stronger balloon, could we take measurements even higher up? Is that possible?
I think they've see, the problem they have is, sorry, Adam, do you want to go? And
Just a quick answer. Yes, of course, if they can get a higher tensile strength balloon. But what's happening when the balloon bursts is the internal pressure has become greater than the external pressure, and the resistance of the balloon. So eventually it's going to go. But you could go higher with greater tensile strength, couldn't you? And does that make sense? But there would. Is there a limit? I don't know, because do you reach the top if you've got sufficient tensile strength? What's limiting at the moment is the thing that the balloons burst. That's what's restricting measurements.
I like how Adam subtly dropped in that you don't know if it might hit the top, and that's a very good point. Now, you've got to get back to ground level basics when it comes to this stuff, right? What are we talking about in this discussion? Well, the nature of our reality, which we have most certainly been lied to about. What's the key thing we've been lied to about? Well, what heaven is, what the sky is to them, what the nature of our reality is. A lot of that is about what the sky actually is, claimed to be 10 to the -17 torr area for you to travel to lights in the sky. For all we know, a bit more tensile strength and a little bit more helium and a bit more space for it to expand into, and it hit the roof, for all we know.
Well, the thing about it is the argument about the tensile strength. If you think about that, that is a debunking of the globe claim, because it just shows how powerful gas behavior can be due to pressure differential, because they can only fill the helium, the weather balloons that they do send up so much. They have to leave them somewhat limp, because that gas inside is going to expand as the pressure outside becomes less, that the helium will expand more inside the balloon, and that's eventually what. So it's the lower pressure eventually breaks the balloon. That's basically what happens.
Quick shout out to Capano 5150. He says, "We can be poor together, Nathan," after smashing the super chat and giving me $5. I really do appreciate it. I'm going to make another quick note as well. There's 190 people watching, which is the largest audience I have had since COVID. So when COVID hit, my audience figures plummeted. I mean, I thought it would be happy days. Everyone's at home, right? Everyone's going to watch me. Not at all. My figures took a massive hit. Now, 190 people watching. I only kept the live show going because I wanted to do a bit of extra e-begging. I've made a tax error and it's cost me dearly. So smash the PayPal link. But it's nice to have a decent-sized audience. I mean, wow, brilliant stuff. Happy days, and welcome to all of you who've just joined us live. This is a non-typical thing. We don't normally have an extended 2-hour live show, but today we are.
Well, I came on because of COVID, so great.
Oh, I didn't know that. You joined at the beginning of COVID. All right.
That's correct.
So you went on lockdown and then saw the show. That is very reassuring. Obviously, completely pisses on the bonfire that I just lit, but there we go.
Well, I'm the only one. No, I listened to the show way before that, but I joined because I was bored out of my mind.
Your YouTube numbers are being manipulated. People actually do watch you, Nathan.
Did you want to say something? Hello, world.
I want to say, yeah, thanks for the explanation about the tensile strength. I think it got me thinking about, I think, the other show, you know, the Bezos and stuff. Is there other ways? Like, there's balloon measurements. Would there be like a way to take a measurement if you use the rocket and like let go of a balloon that once the rocket gets like goes really high up, and then you let go of the balloon at that point? I don't know. It's just a thought.
Well,
That's what it's all about.
Anything.
So, go ahead.
I'm just saying that wouldn't change anything. You'd still have to have the tensile strength, and you still have to have limited helium in it and tensile strength, because at a low pressure, it doesn't matter the pressure. There would be the same issue you'd be running into, which would be the low pressure outside, causing the helium, the limited helium that's inside it, to expand the balloon too much, and that's why the balloon ends up breaking.
Right. What if the rocket could go even higher than the balloon? Yeah. So what if the rocket could go higher than the strongest balloon? Then maybe we take the balloon part off. We keep the measurement part of it, and we bring that with us really high up with the rocket. Would we be able to go higher than the balloon would be able to go?
Yeah, okay, let me answer that question, right? The next step, if you want to find anything that they claim as a measurement after the balloons, the next step is what is NASA and Space Agency sounding rockets, and they're claiming that these sounding rockets are going off out into a 10 to the minus 17 Torr vacuum, and then dropping a payload that takes measurements and comes back to Earth. This is their claim. So the next step after balloons is a claim that the sky vacuum, the endless sky vacuum, exists, but that is a physics impossibility. So that has to be a load of rubbish. So they don't have anything, any real world measurements. They don't have. They only have a claim of sending rockets up and that go out to basically 10 to the minus 17 Torr, or in that direction of a vacuum, and they drops a payload records the pressure and whatever else, and it comes back down. So you have to go past weather balloons, right, and accept any measurements past that. You have to accept heliocentrism and accept the physics impossibility. So that's the problem.
Okay. But you're saying the sounding rocket goes to 10 to the minus 17 Torr. But what about that helium balloon that you mentioned? It measured, what was its measurement?
10 to the minus 2 to 10 to the minus 3 Torr. which would be
So how can we?
which would be nothing compared to the 10 to the minus 17th one.
So at what point is it? At what point in between those two measurements am I like, oh, that's absurd? Why is the first one correct? Like that's possible to achieve, but the last one isn't. At what
Because
But the
do I?
last one is the
because it's a
physics of
delta.
possibility.
Because it's a delta. That's why. So earlier, Adam mentioned necessary antecedent. So the order these things will occur in is first containment, then gas pressure. That would be gas pressing, then gas pressure gradients and dynamic systems. First, you've got to have gas at pressure to develop a dynamic system to have gas pressure gradients. So you've got to have containment in the first instance. So saying, and it's admirable, I was going to commend you, and I will. Where does it end? What is the sky? What point do we don't? Is it that we don't decrease any more in pressure? Because that's going to be the roof, right? And how do we achieve that ends? How do we find the roof? All brilliant questions. And this is part of the joy of finding out about this subject. It's not anymore is it the case that it's the Truman Show example where the teacher pulls down the map and says it's all been discovered. Suddenly the world's your oyster. Anybody with a childlike wonder has got a wonderful time ahead of them when they find out they've been lied to about what the sky is. Because you can ask all the questions you're asking. But there are certain parameters that are going to always apply. In this case, containment first. Then gas pressure. Then gas pressure gradients. It's the red herring of the century. Because all they're doing is employing the same red herring over and over again. Well, we've got gas pressure gradients. Therefore, it dissipates to 10 to minus 17 torr. No, that's a violation of natural law. That would be a vast amount of space for the gas which is at pressure to fill.
Can I throw a few facts out there? Sorry, John, I'll go after John.
I was just going to say that one of the problems with this topic is that so much of the conventions we use to communicate with have been tainted by heliocentrism, like weight, buoyancy, things like that. There's so much baggage that comes with those words because of how they've been defined through the years.
Correct, and that is the essence of magic. Words and their meaning, spells and spelling. Absolutely correct. There's a reason why we call the air we breathe atmosphere.
Can I throw a few facts out there that might help people with questions? At 10 miles up, and this is just 10 miles, the temperature is officially minus 51 degrees. And it actually starts to rise after that. So the temperature starts to rise after that. Now, we're not going to go into that part right now. Maybe in a few minutes. Right? So, but below 10 miles up, at least, and this is official, at least 75% of all our gas supply is below 10 miles up. But we have what are known as, what they call, now they call these atmospheric boundary layers, right? Now, what they are is where you see the clouds start to form, the first clouds that start to form, that's where your local boundary layer is. So what we have is boundary layers that keep about at least 75% of that other 75% below the cloud level. So you have the absolute majority of all our gas supply is naturally below the cloud level. And on top of that, both nitrogen, which is claimed to be 78% of our gas supply, and oxygen, which is claimed to be 21% of our gas supply. The two of them, and I'm not even going to talk about the other ones, they're also recycled, but the two of them are constantly recycling with the surface of the earth. And that makes up 99% of our total gas supply. So 99% of our total gas supply is always recycling with the surface of the earth. And the other 1% is also recycling. It just doesn't have the same cycle as those two. You have minus 51 degrees at 10 miles up. You have at least 75% of all our gas supply below that 10 miles, and at least 75% of that 75% below the cloud level. There
Perfect.
is while all these things are explained, and not once is the explanation of gravity needed for any of this, because that's what the heliocentric believers believe, that there is a force of gravity, even though there isn't a force of gravity in their own model since 1950.
Right.
So the sun is heating the majority of the gases which are at ground level all the time, and it creates a temperature, right? A temperature gradient, and that temperature gradient then creates a gas pressure gradient. How many gases, for the people asking questions there, how many gases can perform past minus 51 degrees?
That is a question that we will definitely get answered in the after show. So I'll say stay tuned if you're watching on either premiering stream. I've kept this live show going because I did want to do a bit of extra e-begging. So I've made a bit of a blunder and could do with support. So if you are in a position to support me, or you were considering support me, there is a PayPal link below this video. So please smash that PayPal link, and that'll be very much appreciated. But in the meantime, a massive, huge, enormous thank you to all of you who did smash the super chat, liked, commented, shared, subscribed, became a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member, and all that good stuff. Once again, stay tuned if you're watching on either premiering stream. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I'll see you all in the next video.
What a lovely day!
There was so many times that people tried to bring up weight or buoyancy, and like I'd immediately invoke gravity on them because of those words.
I'm wondering where the Danny guy is with the proof of Earth
Somebody
case.
just
He's in here. He's here.
Yeah, mate. No one wants me on for some reason.
Wait, Nathan's
Hold on a
still
sec, Danny. Danny,
What was that?
hold on.
Yes,
Nathan,
but I'm
is
here, man.
something.
I'm here. Purchase, I'm here.
You're not recording, are you?
I was going to. If you don't want me to do it, I'll stop.
All right, that's just making sure. No recording.
Okay. All right.
All right.
We close the OBS down. Hang on. Close it down. That's closed. Done.
You just entered a verbal contract, by the way.
In what
Who
way?
cares?
I didn't sign shit.
Who cares?
Verbal.
Get on with
Yeah,
it.
listen, I'll give my word. I'll give my word to Righteous not to record, and I will just close the OBS down. I'm not recording.
Either way, I've forgotten what the guy wanted to send you in for now. Is it Danny?
It is, Nathan, yes.
Can you remember what the guy paid to send you in for? Because I can't.
No, I can't either. I wasn't listening to him, to be honest.
Hold on, I think someone else. Who was that? Go ahead.
R. He's got measurements of R.
I did ask that question. What is the flat Earth's measurements of R? Yeah, I'd like to know that.
Sorry, say that again.
I'd like to know the flat earthers' measurement of R on their flat Earth theory.
So you appreciate that we're asking for R because Earth as a sphere has a radius, and flat Earth has no
Even a
need.
circle. Even a
It's
circle.
immediately
even a circle
talk through
has a
me.
radius.
Immediately talk through me. I got clarity. I was polite. Now I'm responding. Don't need to immediately talk through me.
I'll
take it. You're an anti-flat earther, right? You're not fighting globe
I'm
positions.
not. Well, when can I speak? When are you going to let me speak? I'm not quite sure. I don't want to butt in. See, I'm not quite sure. When you pause, I'm thinking,
I see.
is it my turn?
That's
or what?
lovely. Just try and let me finish this statement.
I will. Okay.
Excellent. So, the reason we asked you for evidence of the R value was because Earth as a sphere has a radius value. There is absolutely no requirement for any R value on any flat Earth model that I haven't claimed. So it seems benign and nonsensical to ask. Meanwhile, the question originally asked to you, and the reason you joined, in fact, is R for a sphere Earth, which is your presumably previous belief before anti-flat Earth came about?
I don't know why I should think it's flat. That's why I'm here to you to tell me, because I've experienced different to what you're telling me. So I'm here to experience of what and why you think it's flat. That's what I'm trying to get at. Okay.
Okay. It's obviously, observably, measurably, and navigatably flat. Sextants used to triangulate positions with geographical positions of stars on a flat surface. So that would be navigating the world as flat. Google Earth. Feel free to draw out any elevation profile depicting the land we dwell atop. There is no drop. There is no 8 inches per mile squared curve. The assertion that there is an 8 inches per mile squared drop is utilising a begging the question proof of nothing perspective hijacking Earth curve calculator, which puts your view in orthographic to remove perspective and utilises a physical geometric sphere edge for a horizon to assert things are being blocked by a non-physical position we call the horizon, with a geometric position that only exists in your maths and has been debunked. So, that is why we assert it is flat.
Okay. Can I share a screen? How do I do that? How do I share a screen on Discord?
What do you want to share?
I want to show you the picture that I made up for you of what I experienced in my life.
What is it?
It's a little sketch of how I, on a boat, sailed away from the land, and can give you an idea of how I know, or I think, believe, it's curved.
I see. Do you want to post it in the live stream chat? And somebody will hopefully get it on screen from...
Okay. Hang on then. 2 seconds.
Cool. Got diagrams. Wonderful. Pre-made, no less.
Well, it's just a little sketch, a little poxy sketch on paint. You know, it's not an artist.
No, I'm not expecting Picasso. Don't worry.
We're used to Rumpus's diagrams.
Can somebody in G Plus let me know when they can get it up on the screen? That's shared? Oh, Adam's
How do I
got it.
put an image? Oh, plus, there it is.
Thank you very much.
Upload file. Right, I've got it.
Perfect. If you can just give me a couple of seconds, I'll get it up on screen. Just bear with me.
I'm just waiting for it to post.
File. Yeah, I want some posting it now. Let's get the sketch up. Where is it? There it is. All right, there we go. So click that, open, and that should go in there. Right, got that. Yes, it's where I can see it anyway.
Okay, just give me a second. I'll get it up. Is it presented, Adam?
It's a shit drawing, Nathan. It's not the best
No, it's
drawing,
okay. It's
honestly.
okay.
It's
It's fine. It's
pretty-
fine. It's fine. Can you make it any bigger, Adam? I can't see it. It's too small.
Open original. Not bad.
Good enough.
That's full screen,
yeah. Most of you see that though.
I can. Before we go, just let me get clarity. So, on your diagram, you've got a position that's marked as line of sight. Yeah. Is that where you would stand?
That's where I was on a boat. I was sat. If you look at the boat on the right hand side.
Yeah. Okay. Before you launch into it, just got a couple of questions. Can you explain is this compared to a picture that you've took, presumably?
No, this is just purely me in paint trying to give you what I experienced, nothing more. If you read the red writing, it says it
I
all
see.
there.
So I got you now. So what this is trying to represent is how you experience the world. Can you tell me, in your experience, when have you ever seen the sign of your own head?
The sign of my own head?
Yeah, see in this picture.
Is that what you just said?
See in this picture, you've got the side of your own head, and you're looking from, if this is a curved Earth as the example, several thousands, if not tens of thousands of miles away from your actual viewing location. So my question, when have you ever seen the side of your own head from 90 degrees from where you stand? Is that something you experience often?
I don't know where you're going with that. I'm not looking at my head.
I'll ask again. I'll try slowing it down. When do you see, as part of your quote experience, the side of your own head, like depicted in this diagram, while you chant through me? Because it's 3 times me explaining the question to you, and you don't seem to get it and want to chant through me repeating it slower. So I'll try again, hopefully without interruption. The question is about when you, in your quote, experience a view of the side of your own head as depicted in this diagram.
Okay, I don't know what that actually means. So you want that diagram? You want me to take a picture of my own head or something? I don't understand what that actually
Yeah,
means.
you can see your position in it. Yeah, you can see your own position in it. I don't get to see where I'm standing and my target both in the same shot ever.
Okay.
I can only see
Let
what
me
I
explain
can
to
see,
them.
which is the target.
Let me explain, Nathan, what I experienced. Okay, I go fishing quite a lot, Nathan.
Shh! You haven't answered my question. When do you see the side of your own head? This is what you've got on screen. You're saying it's what you experienced?
I don't know what is this your argument now? The side of my head? What?
Yeah, in this picture, you've got the side of your own head. You can see your own head in the picture.
I can't see my head in the picture. I don't know what sort of picture.
Here we go. I'll highlight it for my audience. Stop. Everyone shut up.
And there's
Everyone
my
shut up.
point of view.
Do you not understand shut up? For my audience. Here
Well,
on screen,
here
where
we go.
my mouse pointer is pointing to, is the location this gentleman has said he is experiencing the boat from. Now, this would be to say that you can see yourself in what he claims he experiences. So if this is what he is experiencing, as he claims it is, I'm asking, when do you see the side of your own head as it would be in this depiction?
Where would you expect to see my side of my head in this?
Never, you complete fucking idiot. We don't experience the world without perspective in orthographic view. We don't see the side of our own head. This is not what you experience, you dumb shit. 4 attempts to ask you when you see the side of your own head, and you're going to ask me when we experience it, you dumb cracker. We don't! Laugh it up, you fundy fuckwit. So immediately before we've even got to your example, we don't experience this view, clown shoes. Why would you assert that this is what you experience? It isn't.
Kicked off, as expected, within 30 fucking seconds, you've kicked off. Right? I'm giving you what I experienced in my life.
You do not experience the side of your own head, idiot. What part of that don't you understand? This is not what you experience. You're just dumb.
My eyes was looking back towards a lighthouse.
You're seeing the side of your own eyes in this picture. You can see your own bloody eyeballs. You're seeing the side of your own head, mate. You can see the side of your eyeballs. When do you ever get to see your own eyeballs, which is what's depicted in this image? Answer, which you asked to me when you couldn't answer it yourself. Oh, well, why would I be asked why I'd see the side of my own head? Because it's in this diagram, that's why. You don't see the side of your own head, that's the point. You don't see the world like this.
Exactly.
So this isn't what we experience. So this is a stupid diagram that's excluded perspective and put the world in Muppet vision, where you see the side of your own head.
That diagram you can't explain. Oh, read the red. Can you read the red?
Sorry, can you stutter a bit more about the fact that we don't see the side of our own head and this is definitely not what we experience? Do you want to stammer and stutter around that bit more?
Please, just read it out.
Just stutter and stammer about the fact that this is not what we experience. That's about the 7th time I've said that to you. Do you want to keep babbling through me?
Can you please explain this?
It's your bloody claim! Burden of proof reversal fallacy. This guy's a complete idiot.
It's literally
what I expected, Nathan. Thank you.
Sorry, it's your claim. You've just asked me to explain your claim.
Yes.
No, that's a burden of proof reversal fallacy, you dumb idiot. Like all globe believers, you think you can present a claim and then ask me to present it? No, that's just stupid.
I'm asking you to explain this.
I know, and that's called a burden of proof reversal fallacy. That's the 3rd time I've told you. You're just too stupid to get it.
Explained it. You've not explained shit.
I know, I don't need to. It's not my claim. Why would I explain your claim?
Can I add something?
Well, because you're claiming it's flat.
No, I'm not claiming Jack. I'm asking you about your claim and why we're seeing the side of your own head. Not my claim. I'm not claiming anything.
My head. My God, is that what you...
Yeah, oh my God. No, I'm not claiming this. I'm not going to explain it. It's your claim. It's failed because you've said it's what we experience and we do not experience the side of our own head.
Right, can you see the side of your head?
No, that's why this is not what I experience, and neither is it what you experience. That's my point. Yeah, maybe ask me to answer my own point like it's going to be a winning argument for you. That's right, mate. Your diagram doesn't represent what we see. It's not what we experience.
I'm asking, no, because you haven't been on a boat, Nathan. That's why.
Oh, right. Not going on a boat means I don't get to see the side of my own head. I have absolutely been on a boat multiple times, but yet you can divine where I've been geographically and what transportation mode I used, because you're psychic, aren't you? You know that I've never been on a boat when I absolutely have been on multiple boats, and I definitely didn't get a view of my own head when your segue away from the point that you've lost is to say I haven't been on a boat.
I haven't lost no point.
Yeah, you have. You've reversed the burden of proof, and you've presented something you've said you experience with a view of the side of your own head.
I keep talking over all you like. When you finished, I'll speak.
Bro, you said you experienced this, and when asked when do you experience
I
it, you
experienced
said,
this in my life, so I'm asking people to explain this. Why would I experience this if it was?
Explain what you are experienced. Can you explain what you experience?
It's in there in red writing. Can you not see it? I sailed
You
away.
experienced that 3 lines. You experienced that 3 lines.
You're another Nathan. All right, let me speak.
I am not
sailed
Nathan.
away.
That's what that means.
Well, you sound like it putting in. I sailed
What
away
that mean?
on a
What that mean I'm
All right, here we go.
See, what this dick is now doing is decided, regardless of my objections to his point, which he's ignored and rumpused, and then projected that rumpusing and interruption and basically descending the entire thing into chaos, he's going to project that straight onto me. Then ignore the point I've made, which is we don't experience the side of our own head. That's not what we see. We don't experience the world like this. He's going to ignore that and plough on with his point. Regardless of any objections, he's going to chant straight through anything that's objecting his point and make his way to the end of his point regardless, because he's a zealot. Chant it.
Can I add something?
Oh, me. A zealot.
I'm muting him because I want to add something quick. May I add something quick?
Just a sec, because I'm going to have to shoot. It's me, bad concept, but I'll leave this diagram up when I go. I won't drop out. I just want to look at it, and it's took me a while to figure it out. But to answer your question, the point is that the lighthouse diminishes in size to the point that it disappears. Yeah, via optical resolution, you can no longer resolve it because the angle to the lighthouse is significantly less than the angle to the reflection of the light in the clouds. Okay, and I'll mute up and I'll see you all guys tomorrow.
Thanks, Adam.
All right,
So
later.
why can I see the lighthouse in the clouds above me?
Hang on. Hey, I owned a boat. Nathan's been on a boat. I had it for almost 3 years. I'd go to the Pacific Ocean on a weekly basis. I never see the side of my own head. So you said that it works on the boat. Well, it doesn't work on the boat.
Yeah,
All right, can I add
nobody
something?
ever sees this.
Righteous has asked about
Guys.
3 times, Arwin. Go ahead, Righteous, then Arwin.
This is very simple. Even if we did have that viewpoint he's drawing from, we would never see left or right curve. So that's like a total straw man. That is never ever seen, ever.
It's not really a strawman, Righteous. It's what I experience in life.
What, side of your own fucking head that you've ignored about 8 times? No, you don't. You never get to see this view. You don't get to see what you are seeing and yourself in the same view. This is an experience that you cannot achieve. You haven't experienced this. This is not what we experience. Every time I point it out, you just chant and fundy mute me.
Maybe if
Have you got a boat, Nathan?
muscle.
All right, I've got a
Nathan,
family
have you
member
got
that
a
had a boat. Yeah, I've got a family member that had a boat. It's called
Why?
WYSIWYG.
Okay,
It's
cool.
called.
Have you ever-
It was called WYSIWYG. What you see is what you get. That was what the abbreviation for the boat my brother-in-law used to own. He had several. Have you ever owned a boat or had a family member with one?
Yes.
All right, that's fascinating. Lovely that we can catch up on these things. In neither of our experiences will we ever see the side of our own heads.
No, I don't know what the side of your head's got to do with it.
Well, it's in this diagram. That's why I'm asking about it. I'm seeing the side of my own head. I'm asking why I'm seeing it, and you don't seem to understand why I'm asking. Well, it's in your diagram, mate.
In the diagram,
we see the side of our own head. Yeah, that's right. We've got a line of sight to a target and us in the image. So we can see us and the target at the same time.
No, you're sat on...
Yeah, there's me in this diagram that he's saying, nah, we're not seeing ourselves, even though here's us. And according to this description, line of sight. So it's from here we're seeing from. I clarified that with you immediately. So we're seeing this as the position we stand at. You said yes. Well, no. So we're seeing ourselves and the target. We see the boat and us. Never will that be experienceable. You've ignored me 9 times.
I did it. I experienced it, so I have.
No, you didn't. You didn't see the side of your own head. That's 10 times.
Side of their own head? What's that got to do with it, Nathan?
What's that got to do with it? It's in your diagram.
Yes.
Yes, it's in your diagram.
Bro, do you not
I'm sat on a boat.
My diagram's got my own head in it, but what does that got to do with it?
Talking over me, you dickhead.
I'll do what I like, it's my show. And when my point's ignored 10 times, I see it as my right, on my own show, shockingly, to do whatever I want. It's mine, I'll do what I like. You can chant through me and tell me that this is your experience with the side of your own head in this view, along with the target.
It's the side of my own head.
Yeah, that's right, it's got the side of your own head and the target at once.
My eyes, not the side of my head, my eyes, mate.
Oh, and you get to see, oh, I see, and we get to see our own eyes, do we?
You can, if you get on a boat, like you said, you found...
Sorry, we get to see our own eyeballs when we get on a boat. Suddenly we're thousands of miles away from our eyeballs when we get on a boat. No, mate, we never get to see our own eyeballs. That's ludicrous.
Take a telescope with you if you want. You won't.
Sorry, we don't get to see our own eyeballs through a telescope either. We never get to see this view. We don't get to see us and the target at once. That's 11 times you've ignored me. Maybe just chant your way through me.
Okay, now explain to me, Nathan, like how I can see the lighthouse in the clouds above me on the boat, but I can't see the lighthouse itself. Explain that to me, please.
Sorry, there is no lighthouse. This is a diagram of the side of our own heads. So the example being utilised that you talk through me every time I rebut is an example that has us and the target at the same time in the example. That's 12 times. We don't get to experience the world in this way. And it doesn't seem to matter how many times I explain that you don't get to see the side of yourself and the target you're viewing at the same time. This isn't a view we can achieve. You just start talking through me every time I say it because it's so painful.
You're talking shit. You're talking...
Oh, talking shit. I do get to see the side of my own eyeballs.
You are.
I do get to see the side of my own eyeballs.
Oh, my God. Until you've done what I've done, you've got no dog in the race. You can't even comment on it. Until you've done what I've done, you can't even comment.
Well, maybe say that a third time. Until I've done what you've done, I can't comment on the fact that I don't get to see the side of my own head.
You can speak stupid all you like. I mean,
yeah, you can say that we see the side of our own head as per this diagram all day long through me.
The side of my own head?
Yes, I'll show it on screen right now. Here it is. There it is in your diagram, something I never see.
And I can't see the lighthouse anymore. But
sorry, not the lighthouse. Let's not worry about the lighthouse in this depiction where you're asking why a man we're seeing can't see a lighthouse when we observe him viewing something, because you're saying this is your experience, and that's wrong.
Which means wrong.
We don't see the side of our own heads. That's the 13th time I've told you that. And no matter how many times I tell you, you don't like it.
No, because you're telling me absolute rubbish.
Oh, really? I get to see the side of my own head when I jump on a boat? That's not rubbish. That's just not this view in this diagram, and you don't like that.
Ask you a question. Oh,
No. I'm going to tell you that we don't see the side of our own head, making this example completely benign, stupid, irrelevant, because we don't get this view to have the example make sense. We don't get to see us viewing things with the side of our own head in the shot. That never happens. Doesn't matter how many times you talk through me to try and get around listening to this. That is the 14th time I've told you that.
Side of my own head. You can tell me 100 times.
Okay, we don't get to see the side of our own head. That's 15. I'm pretty sure we will get to 100 with you. You are a chanting fundy zealot.
You could tell me 1,000 times.
I know. I couldn't tell a chanting fundamentalist religious zealot that we don't get to see our own head 1,000 times, and you'd still want to make your example that utilises the side of your own fucking head. I know how zealotry works. It means that no matter how many times you're proven wrong, it doesn't matter if it's 1,000 or 10,000, you will still tell me that I experienced this view for this example, which has the side of my own head in it, and we don't experience that.
I'm glad you can see a head in that picture, because I can't see a head.
Nathan, can I ask him?
Sorry, I asked you immediately, first question, is this representative of where you stand? And you answered yes. Are you going to now lie and say when you clarified that that's where you're standing and that's your vantage point, that actually isn't? Because you seem to be contradicting the very first thing I asked you, making you a liar.
Did nothing, Nathan.
You clarified that that was the position you were standing at when I asked you.
When I was on the boat?
Sorry, you clarified that that was the position you were standing on when I asked you. Are you going to lie?
No, I'm not going to lie. Just talk.
So it's not the position you're standing at, as you clarified?
I stand on a boat, Nathan. What don't...
in this picture, you're seeing yourself standing on a boat, though, aren't you? It's not the vantage point you have, and when asked if this represents the vantage point of someone standing at that location where I waved my mouse, you said yes. And then from there on in, we had a lot of chanting.
Right, this is the first one. I've got 3 questions for you. This is the first one, Nathan.
Really? Wow, well, you've done terribly. 0 for 1 so far, my friend. We don't see the side of our own head. You think you should just move past this after 14, 15 attempts of me pointing out that this isn't the vantage we ever experience? Move on to the next crap claim. You've not won this one. We don't see this view.
This one? No, I've won this one. No, I've won it, mate.
You kick him out. It's delusional.
Why is your line of sight going from left to right in this diagram?
What I've done there, you can't get it in your head.
All right, he's asked you a question. Sorry, stop. We'll see if we can get this answered. He's asking if you can achieve a line of sight that is on the horizontal plane in your view. How can you achieve a line of sight that's from left to right when the line of sight, i.e. seeing things, is from your eyeball to the target? And that does not involve you seeing your own eyeballs. It involves you seeing a target, not your own eyeballs inside profile. How are we seeing from left to right?
Your own eyeballs is different, though, isn't it, to the side of your head?
Well, we're seeing the side of our own head. That's my point. What we see out of our eyeballs isn't the side of our own head and a side profile. Yeah, that's kind of my point. Do you think that trying for a second time to throw my argument back at me will make it your winning argument? It's still my winning argument that demolishes your claim that somehow I need to justify how we'll see a lighthouse when the claim involves Muppet vision and seeing the side of our own head. That's 16 times.
Of course. I made it all up. Yes, I didn't do that. Is what you're saying. Is that what you're telling me?
Yeah, you did. You did make up seeing the side of your own head. That's correct.
Unbelievable.
This is not Nathan.
The line of sight in this diagram is going from left to right. When do you ever see left to right?
Both.
Yes.
Sasha.
Okay.
Sasha. What he's attempting to do is to send Discord into chaos, and you're helping him.
No, I'm not. I'm asking you a question, Nathan.
Yeah, you're not going to be asking the questions. I've asked whether or not you ever see the side of your own head. That's the end of this argument. We don't. So what you think you're going to launch into your barrage of questions and fundy muting, and you're the second and third question when you haven't won your first, haven't acknowledged in 16 attempts that we don't see this view, we don't see the side of our own head, making your question benign. What, you think you're going to take charge and be the one asking the questions here? No, dipshit.
I haven't asked the second and third question yet, Nathan.
Yeah, you're not going to get to either, because your first attempt hasn't been conceded. 17 attempts of me pointing out, I know you've already told me that it wouldn't matter if I told you 1,000 times that you never get to see the side of your own head as per this depiction. You won't accept it. You're a fundamentalist religious zealot with a globe belief. Doesn't matter how many times I tell you, right? 1,000 times, who cares?
If he explains it, will you stop interrupting him?
Can I finish my sentence only? It's short. It will not make mess, Nathan.
No, I want Nathan to explain it without this guy interrupting him.
I want to finish my sentence. 10 seconds. You said that you are on the boat. That means that you cannot have that view what you draw on the picture. That is somebody else viewing you on the boat. Do you understand that?
No, you're wrong.
No, he's right. That's precisely what this diagram depicts. Us in the third person viewing you as the second person viewing the target, first person. So you've got a view of first person represented in the third person. You're looking at the side of your own head. That is precisely what is going on. He's correct. We're looking at an observation taking place. It's not the observation.
Hold
I'm
on.
looking at the light.
That's incorrect.
My view is what you draw, and your view is what you said that you are seeing.
Yes.
That is incorrect. Point. Yeah. But that you don't see, man. That I see.
Well, so you're telling me if you was in the boat with me, then you was in the boat.
You draw the point of view of the third person, Sasha, man. Do you understand that? And you said that that is your point of view. You said
Sasha,
that your point of view is that what we see.
Sasha.
Is that what he does to me? Just says Nathan, Nathan, Nathan while I'm talking. Is that how he just avoids listening to anything?
I'm on the boat with you. The Nathan will see
Sasha.
That if that's happening. Do you understand that? You draw
no, I don't understand. Picture. No, I don't.
Do you understand that picture presenting another point of view?
Yes, my point of view, reality.
No, it's not. It's not representing your point of view. It's us watching your observation.
Hopeless.
Thanks, guys. Thanks. It's not like it's enough to deal with Sasha completely descending the Discord server into chaos. I've also got to cope with G+ doing it also. Wonderful. Yeah.
Now, you two have clearly have not explained why that was my experience. That's all I asked.
But I was,
Sorry, it wasn't. We've explained that it wasn't your experience. I think that's 18 times. And you've had somebody else, that would be Sasha, try and explain that it isn't your experience either. You just won't accept it.
Rude to you.
Maybe you
This
experienced
is
that because you're
so
on crack.
not productive. Please be respectful of the person who's asking questions. But this is so many people talking over each other that it's making my energy feel like, what the heck is going on? I can't understand. I actually get what's happening here. I think everybody gets what's happening here.
Yeah, it's descending it into chaos so that he doesn't have to address the 18th or 19th rendition of the fact that we don't see the side of our own head. And if he can constantly talk through me to the point where no one in Discord can hear me, eventually you'll all get irritated and join in. And then nobody can hear anything I'm saying. You see, meanwhile, the audience gets to hear exactly what I say 18 or 19 times nice and clearly. And they'll appreciate that him talking through every single rendition of it is merely because he's got to assert that this is his point of view. And it's a third person's point of view of an observation taking place, not the point of view that he experiences. That's 20 times I've said it.
Nathan?
You can say it 1,000 times. I experienced it, not a third person. It was me.
Okay.
Okay,
Well, then,
we all get it. I think he even gets it. The point is he's saying I observed this. So if he did observe that, can we explain it?
he didn't. He didn't experience the side of his own head. So while we could listen to you ask him to then move along with his begging the question fallacy that involves seeing the side of my own head, it would ignore the 20 renditions of me pointing out that explain what I do when I see the side of my own head. I don't.
It's nothing to do with the side of your head.
Why is it in the fucking diagram then? Explain this. If this has got nothing to do with the side of
My
our own
head isn't in the diagram.
When I asked you if this represents the point of view of the observer, you said yes. Now you're just a liar.
So what you're okay?
So now you're going to stammer and stutter away from the fact that I clarified what this was. My first question to you. Just going to talk through that, you scumbag.
No, scumbag.
Yeah, you did clarify it. I will be trimming it out and attaching it to you now lying about it.
Trim it out.
Yeah, you saying this is the person's point of view at this location. This is the person. And now I'm saying if that's the person, I can see the person in the description. Therefore, I can see myself if you're claiming this is what we experience. Now, I've given you 21 times, and on no less than 21 times, you've talked through it every single time.
Yes, because you're talking shit. You're talking...
You said talking shit when I say seeing the side of your own head is impossible. You ignore it 22 times and then move on with asserting that I'm going to describe how an observation of me seeing the side of my own head needs explaining, and it doesn't, because I don't experience this. That's 23 times.
Oh, you keep going. You can. I said to you 1,000 times if you want.
I know you're a fundamentalist religious zealot, and you will chant your belief that seeing the side of your own head is representative of reality, even if I point out 1,000 times that you do not ever experience the side of your own head in reality. You don't get to see yourself making an observation in reality. That is not how we experience the world. But because your globe maths needs the world to be inside view to remove all aspects of perspective, you will assume that seeing yourself in an observation you claim you're seeing from your experience isn't actually something you can experience because you're seeing yourself make the observation.
Right, that don't make any sense to anyone.
Well, then fuck off. You're too dumb to be here. It doesn't make sense that you've got yourself in this picture, which means that effectively we're looking at ourselves seeing something. You're too dumb to be here. You know, I can't help that, globe believer. You, at a fundamental level, think that seeing yourself in a picture is going to be a possible observation you can make. And it really isn't. That's just stupid. I know you don't understand. And even if you did understand, what, 1,000 times I could repeat it, you wouldn't accept it? Yeah. You think seeing the side of your own head is okay.
Right, can I ask you a question?
No, you can't. I've already told you that. I answered that when you asked last time. You pointed out you got 2 more questions to ask. I said I couldn't care less about any more questions. You've already attempted to tell us that our perception of the world involves the side of our own head. And in spite of 24 attempts to point out that this simply isn't the experience of the world we get, you don't want to acknowledge it. You want to chant through it non-stop, and then you want to move on. Well, no, mate.
He said
I want to move.
he made a claim. Hang on one second.
I'm going to move on. I want to move on. Hang on, Sash. Let me finish.
Hang on one second.
Let him squirm and beg to move on. Yeah. You can beg all you like to move on. We're just going to stay here and point out that this isn't the world we view. It's the same view we get in the Muppet Vision Earth curve calculator, though, and you desperately want to use it because you're a globe believer, and this is how you must view the world if you think you're on a globe. So you want to move on because we've debunked that. We don't see the side of our own head, so it's move on. We must. No, we like to dwell on these things. Yeah? Because this is Muppet Vision, like the Earth curve maths uses. And Muppet Vision isn't the world we live in. But when we point that out to a globe believer, you can be damn sure it'll be met with chanting and wanting to move on when you won't acknowledge it 27 or 28 times. Doesn't matter how many times I say it, you've already told us that too. 1,000 times, who cares, right?
Right. So are you interpreting this, Nathan? When I look at my eyeballs, that is looking at the side of my head. Is that what you're
Sorry, when I look at my eyeballs, sorry, I never get 1,000 or so miles away from myself to see my eyeballs. And in answering this, I just puzzle over why it is that you're talking now. You know, I mean, that's what you've done the entire time, but...
No, you've talked...
No. While I was in the middle of a sentence, and every sentence I've spoken to you so far, you've talked through every single one of them. Now, I appreciate that every single word I say is devastating, and really what you need to do is chant that you want to move on and ask me questions when we don't see the side of our own head. But you must believe that to believe you're on a sphere. That's how sphere geometry works. It's in Muppet Vision, orthographic view.
I experienced something in my life, Nathan, that you can't seem to accept, right, for some reason. I experienced it. I asked you to explain it, and all of a sudden, for the last 20 minutes now, all you've done is kick off about side of my head or some shit like that.
Some shit like that. What, my argument? Yeah, you see my argument as some shit like that. Do you know what an orthographic view is?
In my head. What's that about?
Do you know what an orthographic view is?
I don't need to know all that. I don't need to know all the stuff you tell me about.
Sorry, it's a simple enough question. Guys from G+, please. Sorry, I'll ask again. Do you know...
That's all Strawman stuff.
No, I'm not allowed to ask. What's an orthographic view, Fundy?
Chanter.
What's an orthographic view?
Tell you what, learn to mute. That's the best thing you can do, Nathan. Learn to mute.
What's an orthographic view?
I don't know. Should I know that?
Well, you presented an image in it.
I present...
Yo, you dumb fuck! You have presented an image in orthographic view, yet you don't know what it is.
Oh, there you go. Then.
Sorry, shut up, shithead. You're the dumbest person here. Do you understand? Shut up, sit down, and listen. You have presented a view in orthographic representation, and you don't know what it is? Yeah, you're the dumbest person here, mate.
Because I might well be.
Yeah, you are, emphatically, yes, the dumbest person here. You don't even know what you're presenting. This is an orthographic view. You didn't know that because you don't know what you're presenting.
We don't care to convert you.
I sketched something up for you. I don't know about orthographic projection. I don't.
Yeah, you don't know what it is, but you're utilising it, you stupid man.
Well, sorry if I drew a sketch what happened to be orthographic projection. I apologise for that.
Oh, right. Oh, that's fine. No worries. No, I'm glad you've apologised. That's not a concern. Maybe you could listen to my response to that rather than talking through me. That's no worries. I'm glad you apologised.
You talk for me. Nathan, you've done...
Meanwhile, we don't see the world in an orthographic view. That's the fact of the matter. Orthographic mathematical representations of the world are definitely not optical representations of the world. That is not what they are. Now, you seem to think that orthographic view is experienceable because you don't even know what it is. That makes you stupid. I'm trying to correct you, but you're talking through me non-stop. Every time I open the mic to let the audience know that you're not listening to a single word I say, you're jabbering through me continually. So I'm trying to explain to you that the view you have picked is an orthographic representation. And orthographic representations aren't experienceable. They're not optical representations. They're not what we take in with our eyes. But you don't want to understand and accept that, even though I'm having to educate you on what you're claiming. With a burden of proof that I should explain the claim you've made in orthographic view, which you don't know what it is.
Because I don't know the name orthographic, I'm ridiculed, yeah?
Do you understand? It's not something we experience. It's 29
I
times.
experience, and you saying...
Sorry, 29 times I've tried to explain that you don't experience orthographic view, and you're going to tell me now again that it's something you experience, even though you didn't know what it was. And now you're going to tell me how it's what you experience, even though you only found out the name of it about 25 seconds ago, you arrogant Dumbo.
That's what you got. So it started off with side of my face, and now it's orthographic. Is that
yeah, side of your own head, also known as Muppet Vision. You ever heard me bandy around the world Muppet Vision before?
Right, so
So seeing the side of your own head, orthographic view, that's right, yeah. This dumb shit view that you've given us, yeah, that's right. The one you didn't understand and I'm having to educate you on, yeah. The one that we cannot experience in reality, yes, that's right. We don't experience the world in orthographic view. It's not something we experience. If you knew what orthographic view was, you'd understand we don't experience it, but I've just spent 30 attempts, maybe it won't be 1,000, trying to explain that this view you've given us isn't experienceable. Now, 30 attempts later, maybe you could actually acknowledge that rather than talk through it.
No, I acknowledge it. This is what I experience in my life. So.
Oh, I see. So you want to chant at me for the 1,000 times that a view you've never understood or experienced and only been told about today is actually the world you experience when I tell you in no uncertain terms that we do not experience the world in orthographic view 31 times.
Okay, bro.
Do you want a 3D view then?
Bro, if this is your experience, let me explain something to you. If this is your experience, what you need to do is you need to get in your car and drive to the doctor's office because you're a crazy person.
See, now that you've got people declaring you insane based on the fact that you think this is what you experience, do you think it's reasonable that I explain the claim within this nonsense view we don't have? Because you've spent 30 attempts while I've tried to tell you we don't experience this, demanding that I explain the example using this view we don't experience. Seems unreasonable to me.
Me, Nathan, how can you tell me I didn't experience it when I did?
Because we don't experience orthographic view. That's 32 times I've attempted to tell you that. Of course, we're dealing with a globe believer, so you're obviously very slow. So it's going to take at least 1,000 times, you've told us. Doesn't matter how many times I explain that we don't experience orthographic view, you'll tell me we experience it this way. We don't.
I did.
Dave, can I ask him a question?
Go ahead, Chocolate. If he'll allow you. He'll just talk straight through you, I guarantee it.
All right, dude. I'm just trying to understand something, right? In this diagram, right? You got boat, right? You're supposed to be in that boat, right? You're the one in the boat? Hello?
Yeah, it's gone very quiet because it's the same question I tried to clarify and did get clarification for immediately when he presented this. And now he's gone silent.
So, Guy, are you in the boat?
No, wait, I'm in the one on the boat. Yes, I said yes. Sorry, you didn't hear me. I said yes, I'm in the boat.
All right, so you're on the boat, and you've got this line in this diagram that says line of sight, right? And you've got the line going from the boat, which is on the right, from our vantage in this diagram, to the left, right?
Correct.
So that's you on the boat looking from the right to the left, right?
I was looking back towards the lighthouse, to be honest. Not left and right. I was looking directly back to.
Well, I'm just talking about from where we're looking at it from in this diagram, right? So you're in the boat looking out to the lighthouse from the right to the left, according to this diagram, right?
Well, right and left is not. Yeah, I'll go with that just for your. Yeah, go on then. I like and left. Go on.
Right? The line is going from the boat from the right to the left. Can you understand that?
Yes.
Okay, great. Now, what we're doing in this diagram is we're looking at you in the boat, looking from right to left.
Thank you.
Right?
Right.
Hello?
Go on. Carry on.
No, I need to understand. In this diagram, we are looking at you looking from right to left in this diagram. Is that correct? It's not a hard question, bro. Your diagram has you in a boat with a line of sight, right? From right to left. I'm asking you, is that what you're trying to show us? Is that we are looking at you in a boat, and you are looking to the left in this diagram, right?
I'm stood in the boat. What's it called? Sasha. I'm stood in the boat looking back towards the lighthouse. Now, obviously, I can't show that. I'm not a 3D expert, so I've showed you in an orographic, or what do you call it, orographic way. That's what I showed you.
So you can't show how you actually saw it. You have to show us in this diagram, which is us looking at you while you are looking from the right to the left in the diagram. So
I wasn't looking from right to left. No, I wasn't looking from right to left.
So when you say you can't show it the way you saw it, that's kind of the same as my 32 attempts to say, this isn't how we see it then. You've just said, you can't show it the way you saw it. You're talking through me there, Fundy. You can't show it the way you saw it. My version of that, this isn't how we see it. Do you see how those two things are the same? That's 35 attempts. 35, ladies and gentlemen.
No, I don't, Nathan.
No. Okay, that's okay. We'll continue. We'll continue with the audience absolutely implicitly under the understanding that you are really, really stupid. You've just told us that you couldn't show it how you saw it, so you presented it like this. So it's not how you saw it, it's like this. Something that's not how you saw it then. Hello?
No, it's exactly how I thought. If you read...
Oh, really? So why did you just tell us that you couldn't show it how you saw it, so you showed it like this? That makes no sense that you would tell us that you depict it this way, because it's not how you could show it.
It's exactly how I showed it, because that was a 2D perspective of how to show what I seen. If
And
you can't
see
get
in,
that down your...
and you see in 2D, do you? You have a 2D view of the world.
Here we go.
Sorry, it's a yes or no question. I'm going to see how many times he can obfuscate and talk through.
No,
this.
I don't see my world as 3D, as 2D. It's 3D, obviously.
And this is 2D or 3D. And which is this diagram? Is this what we see? 3D?
I see it in 3D. I presented it in 2D. Is that
so? It's basically not what we see then.
It's what I seen.
No, you just told us you don't see in 2D.
I've said I've represented it in 2D.
So it's not what you see, it's something being represented then. Not what we see, but a representation of what we see.
It's a representation.
So it's not what we see then.
Representation.
Yeah, so it's not what we see then. That's 39 attempts.
Film it. I wish I filmed it. I could show you right now and go there.
Yeah, but that would be what you saw as opposed to a 2D representation, which isn't what you see. That's 40 attempts.
You haven't explained to me how
that it's 2D and that's not what we see. No, you just explained it to us. You just told us that you can't represent it in 3D. So because it's not what you see, you did it in 2D, and you made it clear that this is a representation that you can't see. That's the same point I've made 41 times, you know.
No, it's the representation.
Yeah. This is 2D and we see in 3D, and you've told us it's been represented this way because you can't show it in the way you see it. So this isn't the way you see it because you can't show it that way. That's 42 attempts with a complete idiot being humiliated by a flat earther for an audience, ladies and gentlemen. This is what you descend into if you've got a globe belief. The level of stupidity where you will have your own claim and your own words put back to you 43 times, and it explained that you telling us you've had to put it into 2D because it's not what you see is my very first objection 45 attempts ago. That then this isn't what we see then, is it? By your own admission.
Before, by the way.
Is the chocolate here?
You're wrong. You're wrong, Nathan. I seen that from my own experience, and you still have not explained it to me, apart from looking at the side of my head, whatever that means.
Bro,
I don't ever get that view.
serious? Are you serious, bro? We just went through this. I just asked you.
You haven't gone through nothing.
Are you?
You haven't gone through nothing. I experienced, but you're not
Right,
reading.
well, what's going to happen now is the rendition of Chocolate summarising what he's failed to do and my 43 attempts to explain it to a complete idiot is going to get talked through Chocolate as well. You're going to chant through Chocolate too, summarising it, right?
I'm not going to chant. I'm answering questions to Sasha. Sorry.
I'm not asking you anything. We're pointing out how stupid you are. We're not asking you anything. I mean, why would you ask anything of you? You're the dumbest person here. You didn't even know what orthographic view was. I mean, you now know it's 2D and we don't see that. My point I've made 45 times. But because I've made it, you don't want to concede it because you're an anti-flat earther.
You haven't explained nothing.
I don't need to. It's not my claim. I don't have to.
He wants us to explain that.
It's going to keep chanting that I haven't explained this, ladies and gentlemen, and that's a burden of proof reversal policy. I'm not claiming anything. I don't have to explain it. I can explain to the audience that this claim that he's making is based on a 2D world we don't see. He's explained that to us. My point that I've made 46 times is that we don't see that world. It doesn't represent what we see. It's got the side of our own head in it. And when I point that out to him, he says, oh, that old rubbish. yeah. Keep it
I
up.
didn't say that old rubbish. I didn't
Oh,
say
yeah,
that.
you had
Where's
to
that come from?
constantly interrupt him while he was explaining it. Didn't
Sorry,
you?
Sasha. I was interrupting, was I?
No, that's someone
For
else.
the fact that this is not Sasha. Sasha is not speaking, okay?
Oh, sorry. Sorry, I got the wrong one. Sorry.
Yeah, meanwhile, we don't see the world in this 2D representation that I've explained to you 46
did.
times. And I would expect you to immediately start chanting through me pointing that out for the 46th time. Because it's hard and
No.
painful when you're telling us that you've done it in this way because you can't do the way you see it. So you've done it this way. But me saying it's not the way we see it is worthy of 46, now 47, rebuttals from you that don't go anywhere. And a lot of chanting.
Doesn't matter. You can tell me lies as many times as you want. It'll still be lies, Nathan.
Sorry, what lie?
Can I say something?
Lies. Who's lying here?
Could I say
Nathan's
something?
lying. Nathan's lying his arse off real.
It's just descending this into personal attacks. I haven't lied about anything. You know, he's told us we don't see this view.
You know, it's sad because I tried real easily to go through this with him, and I'm not understanding why it's so hard for you. You're the guy in the boat. Dude, you're the guy in the boat. In your diagram, in the boat,
Yes.
you're looking from right to
Yes.
left. Right. But in the diagram, as it's depicted to us, you are looking at yourself in the boat, looking from right to left. The problem with that is you came in and said, this is how I experience reality. It's not.
But I did. How can you say it's not when I did experience that?
When did you ever see yourself in a boat?
No.
Far away from yourself, looking from right to left. Have
Can't
you
you
ever had
understand
that
the
experience?
2D projection of what I've experienced?
Oh,
Can't
so
you
it's not
get
really
that?
what you
Have I got
experienced.
to film
It's a
it 3D
representation.
wise for you to get it?
Again, right? Because you can't explain it, you can't show it the way that you saw it. You have to show it this way, right?
That's
It only works when he eats mushrooms.
Hold on, Arwen, hold on. Because you can't show it the way you saw it, you had to represent it this way, right?
Yes, correct. Correct.
Right. So that means that's not how you saw it, which debunks your whole point from the moment you got here.
It doesn't debunk
because you
nothing.
said
I'm
this
showing
is
you
how
the-
you see it. If you can't understand this, bro, I can't help you. You're a freaking clown at this point. I'm trying
50.
really nicely, but
We're up
you're
to-
just being a clown.
We are up to 50 renditions, with him adding about 3 more to that. So if you count him making our point for us, it's about 53 renditions, with him also saying it's not what we see.
I'm telling you it's not what you see, because I've been there. You've not been there, Nathan. You've not been there and done what I've done. Okay? If so you do that, then like, you might see it yourself then.
You
But I've
don't
been
get it,
there,
kiddo.
on a boat. I don't know how you can call me a liar when I know for a fact I've done this. Been on a boat, sailed away, could not see the lighthouse anymore. Yet I looked above me, and in the clouds I could see the light flashing away still. Every 30 seconds it was spinning around. All I asked is you explain it. None of you so far have explained nothing apart from side of my head, whatever the hell that means.
Sure, he just keeps chanting, hello, hello. Right, I'm going to clear this whole thing up. You, Danny, I think your name is, had an observation, an experience. You drew that experience in the side-on orthographic view to depict what you saw, right, to an audience, right? You drew in that the earth was curved because that's what the experience gave you the impression that it was, supposedly, right? This is your claim, that because you couldn't see the lighthouse anymore, but you could see the light, that meant that that the earth was a globe, right? So you drew it in that way. Now, you've admitted that you didn't see it like this and you just depicted it this way. But Adam Meakin, earlier, before you left, explained your conundrum to you. And you continually say that no one can explain it, no one's explaining it. It was explained earlier, everyone else heard it. How come you did not address what Adam explained to you?
I think at some point he
You know what? I didn't know. I didn't hear
fell
Adam.
back.
So I'll go back and listen to that.
Yeah, it was explained to you. Adam explained to you exactly what it was you were seeing across a flat plane.
What was I seeing?
It has nothing to do with a curve. Well,
So
how
why
come you
couldn't I
didn't
see the
listen
lighthouse?
to it?
So why couldn't I see the lighthouse?
Here for about 15 minutes, and you didn't hear the very clear explanation that everyone shut up and listened to.
Things get smaller.
Okay, so explain to me, why could I not see the lighthouse, but I could see its light above me? Explain that.
Okay, this is your claim that you are making. Now, I've attempted
Yes.
about 4 or 5 times, hopefully you won't interrupt this attempt, to explain that you charging us to explain this is what's known as a burden of proof reversal fallacy. It is not my claim. I don't have to explain it. However, you're attempting to utilize this depiction of a world in orthographic view as a claim proof of a side profile sphere edge blocking your view of the lighthouse. Now, when you present it in this particular depiction, the representation removes angular size limitations at distance. The boat is not scale changing with distance in this diagram. So your boat remains the same feet and inches or meters value as you push it away, and it doesn't represent it getting smaller and smaller into the distance with a limitation to the angle of the bottom of the item based on the deck you're viewing it over. None of those angular considerations are capable of being done in this maths because it's an orthographic view. Therefore, no perspective. So asking us to explain it would get us to launch into an explanation for a claim we haven't made. It's a burden of proof reversal fallacy. Your claim, however, that Earth curves getting in the way as per your diagram, requires us to detach ourselves from our bodies and see ourselves in a way that we don't experience. That would be a 2D world that's orthographically represented. And we don't experience the world that way, which means that any claims made about what you depict in this diagram aren't representative of the optics we actually see with our eyeballs, which do include perspective, and this diagram does not. Hope that's clear.
If you don't get it from that point on, then it's hopeless.
Any reaction at all?
No.
Too much cognitive pain.
Yeah, certainly seems so.
Well, it's
I think that's
shocking
what
that
happens,
you
Nate.
can't see what I experience in my
So
life.
you're asking me to detail what you experience. I've just spent a good significant amount of time
Need
explaining.
to explain how I experience that. I'm asking you, Nathan, how I would experience that.
Okay,
if
with
the
okay,
original flat
okay,
Earth. And
I
you
heard.
say you wouldn't
Okay,
stop
I
that,
heard.
then we
I
can
heard.
do it.
Maybe keep talking indefinitely. Thank you. I heard your question. You'd experience it with
Well, you
perspective.
answered it.
Well, I'm trying to, but every time I attempt to, you talk. Shocking. So I'll try again. We would experience it with perspective, and an orthographic representation doesn't include perspective. The world you experience in real life does.
Well, the world I experience is what I tried to show you on that 2D or graphic, whatever you call it, picture.
Oh my!
That's what I experienced.
I see. And I'm trying desperately to explain. It's been 47 times, no, 50, 53, 54, 55 attempts, including your own depiction and detailed explanation to us that this diagram isn't what we see. And what we do see...
Master, you're calling me a liar.
Yeah. There's you talking through me again immediately when I'm trying to explain it to you. You've told me again that this is... Why don't I understand that this is what you see? I get your question. I'm trying to answer you. Why isn't... I can't understand that this is what you see. Well, because it isn't. What we see includes perspective, and this depiction doesn't. Now, I don't know if you can't get that, and you're just going to launch into, why don't I understand that this is what I see? Well, because I see perspective, and so do you, and this doesn't include it.
Well, perspective shows that the perspective for me not seeing the lighthouse wasn't down to perspective, wasn't down to size or distance. It was down to the fact that I'd gone through a curve and I could see it above me in the clouds. So perspective's out the window.
You can't ignore perspective.
Sorry. Stop. All right. I said we would experience the world with perspective. I didn't make any claims to explain your unreasonable request to explain where the lighthouse went. I merely said... I'm trying again to say what I said, but you're going to chant through it like you did last time. That's why you didn't hear me or understand. Because you didn't listen. I understand that you didn't listen. So I'll try again, see if you can button your mouth and open your ears to try and comprehend the words that come out of my mouth. So I didn't try and explain your question or answer your question. You asked, what would we see? I said we would see with perspective included. And this diagram doesn't have that. That's all I said. I didn't explain your unreasonable question because it's based in a world that doesn't include perspective. So I don't need to answer it or make any claims or explain where the lighthouse went because I'm not making that claim. And it's a burden of proof reversal fallacy to challenge me to justify your claim. I don't have to do that. But as you've asked, what would we see? I've said, well, we definitely see perspective, and your diagram doesn't have it.
It does, though, have it. It does. That's the whole point. It does have perspective.
Why
in
did
it,
you
doesn't it?
say? Why did
Now
you
you're
say
lying.
perspectives? Please.
Okay, no. 10th, please. For the love of God. Please. Hello? No. You see, the problem is when you say it's got perspective, that's angular sizes. And in your diagram, you only have one line between you and target. Can you see that there is only one line? And at the tangent, and you don't need to talk, I'm talking. You need to listen.
Stop pausing then.
In order to acquire angular sizes, there'd need to be an angle to the target. And even in this orthographic representation, you have a single line in this diagram. Not going to acquire an angle from that because it's not an angular or perspective view. It's orthographic, side on. It excludes that. That's why you can draw one line. You're not going to get an angular size from a single line. So although you've stated specifically this does include perspective, you are in fact wrong. Because it's only got one line, you're not going to get an angle from that. Do you understand, or is this going to take 1,000 times too?
I understand. I understand angles. Of course I do.
Right, so there's none there with one line.
Me? Right, you still not explain to me then why I could see the light out.
Sorry, there's no perspective. Don't just move straight on to me explaining something that I've pulled apart based on the fact that it doesn't have perspective and that's something we'd see. You've asked, and I've told you. We would see with perspective. You've said this includes it. It's only got one line. Now, don't be a fundy dick. Acknowledge that when you said it had perspective, it doesn't. You've only got one line. No angle, your size, because there's no angle with your one line. Why are you talking through me, coward? Does my point scare you? Because you are wrong.
One line.
You're breaking up. You're breaking up.
Thank God for that.
Okay, no worries. He was incorrect, despite the fact he suddenly got internet problems, which will no doubt resolve
I'm still
themselves
showing.
mid-point. Yeah, the moment I launch into a point, his internet issues
Amazing.
will resolve, and my own side will start chanting through me too. Yeah, so, one line, no angle. You were wrong. You said it...
Can you explain?
Sorry, before you start demanding that I explain something that I've pulled apart again, because you like to
I
chant...
haven't pulled it apart then, Nathan. You have.
Yeah, I have. You've said it's got angular size, perspective, and it doesn't. You've moved past that 4 times. Chanted through it every time I've repeated it. No angle with a single line. Can you concede that it doesn't have perspective in this view, or are you just going to keep
Do you want
telling
me
me
to put
it
an
does?
angle on it for you? Do you want me to put 20 degrees something? Do you want me to put something fancy on there for you? It doesn't mean shit. My eyes could not see the lighthouse, and yet the
Sorry, you are gonna chant your fundy zealot assertion that's using Muppet Vision to make. Yeah, okay. This doesn't include perspective. The claim you're making doesn't include perspective. The view doesn't include perspective. The maths doesn't include perspective. And this single line you've got that you've ignored in favour of chanting your claim through me again hasn't got perspective. You said it did.
Yes, it does.
No, it doesn't. You've only got one line. There is no way to acquire angular size from a single line.
Look at the...
Don't tell me what to look at. I can see there's no angles on this. There's no angular size. You're wrong.
yellow line of the lighthouse.
Sorry, there is no angular size. There is only one line.
Man, you want angles that only...
Yeah, that's perspective. Angular representations. Apparent sizes. That's angular size. You keep asserting that this diagram, because you're a dick, and when wrong, you're just going to chant that you're right through the correction, that you can't get an angle from a single line as drawn here.
It doesn't need an angle. It doesn't need any...
Oh, right. We don't need perspective, even though that's how we view the world. I pointed out that this would have perspective if it was what we see. Now you tell me we don't need perspective. What kind of stupid assertion is that? Yes, we do. We see it. Meanwhile, this doesn't represent what we see now, does it? That's 57 times.
You can do it. I said to you, you can do it 1,000 times. Makes no difference.
Yeah. And no matter how many times I point out, it's not what we see, that we don't see the side of our own head, that this doesn't have perspective. You can't angular size this diagram. you will just continually assert that it's what you see. Because you need it to be this way, because this is how the globe represents the world. So therefore, you must see the world this way, in spite of every attempt by us, which is going to get into the hundreds by the looks of things, to explain that even by your own admission, this isn't what we see.
It affects your life, Nathan. If it turns out to be a globe, it affects your life. It doesn't affect...
No, who gives a shit? I wasn't debating whether it affects me. I was debating whether or not you and your assertion that this includes perspective is correct or not. It's got one line, no perspective, no angular sizes in this diagram. You're wrong.
You don't need an angular size.
So you're going to tell me what we don't need when you told me it included it? Well, if it includes it and we don't need it, why have you included it?
You've not...
Sorry, why have you included it? You said it was included but not needed. Why have you included it then?
You give me 30 seconds.
Sorry, why have you included it? You've just said it's not needed, but yet you also simultaneously say it's included.
It's included, yes.
But it's not needed, so why have you included it?
Well, I haven't. You see the word perspective?
Sorry, you haven't included it. You seem confused.
I don't seem confused there.
Well, either you've included it, or it's not needed.
You're very confused over...
Me, I'm confused. Project that shit straight onto me. No, it doesn't have perspective. You said it was included, and when I point out how it can't possibly have it, you tell me it's not needed.
I didn't... So you're calling me a liar now?
Yeah, I am. You are a liar. You told me it had perspective. I've pointed out unequivocally how it cannot have it, and your subsequent response is to tell me it's not needed. It's a bit like when we point out that we don't have Earth turning beneath things. You then tell us it's not needed to turn beneath them. Well, you need perspective, it's what we see. You say it's included because it's what we have in our reality. And when I point out how it can't have it, you tell me it's not needed. Making you a lying dick.
6 now, you.
What, is that the number of times I'll have to tell you that seeing a 2D world isn't what we see with our eyes, it includes perspective, only for you to tell me that your diagram that's 2D, with the side of your own head, and targets not changing in angular size, and a single line, does have perspective, only for me to point out how it doesn't, and you to tell me subsequently that it's not needed?
You finished yet, Nathan?
What? Ripping you a new asshole, fundy zealot? Is it not needed, or included?
Have you finished?
Asking you if perspective is included with this single line with no angle, or not needed. Which is it?
I'm not going to answer that, and I'll tell you why.
You're not going to answer your fundamental contradiction in your argument? Well, what a shock. I mean, that was me thinking as a globe believer, you'd have this covered in a pinch.
I've got it covered.
Well, is it needed, not needed, or included, or not included? Which one is it?
Perspective is in the drawing if you look, but you've not looked.
Oh, really? I've looked and there's only one line. So give me the angle for the boat based on the single line. Oh, I can't. There's only one line.
You blind.
Sorry, there's no lines of angles to the boat.
There's 3 lines.
Sorry, there's no line of angle.
On the end, what is proving the diagram?
Can anyone explain to me why I can see the light
understand
above me? Stop talking over me and listen. Stop talking over me and listen. Can anyone explain to me why?
Can anybody explain to me why this 2D representation is how we see the world? Oh, well, it's not how we see the world. We don't see in 2D. We do have perspective. Things do decrease in size as they move away from you. I mean, this diagram, if it was a sphere Earth beneath you, you'd have about 4,000 miles between the diagram. But fortunately, orthographic view doesn't have perspective, so you don't need to worry about the fact that proportionally, or by scale, you're about 3,000 miles from this boat on a sphere Earth. I mean, that's ludicrous. But obviously, given that it doesn't include perspective, you don't need that in this diagram. It doesn't matter that you're, by scale, 3,000 miles away from the boat, because it doesn't include perspective in orthographic view.
It doesn't matter.
Oh, now it doesn't matter. A minute ago, it was included, and you were starting to tell me about all the lines you drew. But now it's not included again. You see, it's definitely not me confused here, buddy. You seem to be flipping between it's not included, it is included. It's needed, it's not needed. It's in my diagram, there's multiple lines. I can't get an angle from a straight line to a target that's obscured by an edge in orthographic 2D view that I don't see. You seem very confused.
Are you finished?
What, ripping you a new asshole? No, as is the case with every fundie who comes here. When they ask me if I'm done ripping them a new asshole, I point out that I enjoy this. I make my living from this, and I could literally rip your stupid nonsense apart 1,000 times with pleasure. So no, I'm not done. I will forever be here, while there's globe believers like you making assertions that we see a 2D world in the side of our own head, and then demanding that we explain how that works when we don't see the world that way, until the globe belief is no more. Until you appreciate you haven't got R, which is what you came here to argue about, and went on to telling us how we see the side of our own head, and boats that don't change with distance, in terms of their angular size, which you simultaneously say is included in this diagram, and is not needed in this diagram. So you seem very confused, Fundy. No, I'm not done. I'll be here until you Fundies realise the Earth is flat.
I'm not fun. It's very confused. I've showed you something that I experienced and it's all collapsed.
You didn't experience this. You didn't experience the side of your own head. You didn't experience seeing left to right on the side of the page. You haven't experienced this. It's nonsense. You certainly didn't see Earth with 1,000 or 3,000 miles distance to scale between you and a boat with a single line between it. None of those things were experienced by you. And it's been about 60 times of me telling you that. And every time I tell you, you say, you could tell me 1,000 times that I don't see the world this way. I'm still going to ask you to justify how I see the world this way.
That's fine. You know what? Next.
No, it's not fine. It's how I make my living. I mean, it's a fundamentalist religious zealot entertainment for flat earthers. You chanting constantly that it's fine that you don't see the world this way and asking me to explain how the world viewed this way is needing explaining. That's not fine, but it's very good for me to make a living from.
That's your own words. You just said it.
How do you think you've done?
This is how
do you think you've won? Do you think you've made your point? Do you think you've done well here?
Because I've not made a point at all. No, not at all.
No, I don't think you've done well either. I think you've done very badly. You know, you've also demonstrated yourself stupid in excess of 60 times with a rendition of your own argument that this isn't the view you get.
1,000 times. It doesn't.
Yeah, no, 1,000 times I could tell you. With you telling me that it's not the view you get, and it wouldn't matter that you're telling me it's not the view you've got.
Nathan, we agree on this.
We, stutter. Yeah, we haven't got this view. You told me that.
Yeah, for 2 seconds.
Yeah, I've listened to 2 seconds of you telling me how this is actually the view we've got. It's what we experience. And also that it isn't the view you can get. So you had to represent it this way. It's just a representation. Not the view, just a representation of the view. That's what you told us.
So next time. Right, so next time, because you called me a lie at the moment, so I didn't.
I'm not stringing you a lie. This isn't the view we get. That's no lies in there, scumbag. Just because you're having to lie, don't project onto me.
You're shocking.
You are a liar.
When I go,
you came in here claiming you had a question, but really all you had was a claim. Because when your question was very clearly and concisely answered by Adam Meakin, you completely ignored it and never addressed it.
So
you are a liar.
Danny, blah blah blah.
You are not interested. You're not interested in an explanation or the answering of a question. You're interested in your claim. You're not. You're interested in.
I'm interested.
You keep on. No one can answer this. No one can answer this. It was answered about 25 minutes ago by.
It wasn't.
Everybody heard it. Nobody could not have heard it.
It wasn't. He called me a liar. That's the answer. The answer is I'm a liar.
You are a liar. You are a liar. You came in pretending you had a question, but really all you had was a claim. So that's your claim. So you support your claim with evidence. Don't be telling us about your diagram, about your claim. You support your own claims, pal.
He
It's
still
not
don't
a question
understand.
you have, it's a claim.
He still don't understand that he has to detach himself to get that view. He still don't understand that.
No, he understands that very well. He understands that very well. He's not here as if he's naive or anything. He knows exactly what he's doing. He's coming in here with a claim, pretending it's a question, then asking us to explain, clearly explained by Adam Meakin. He ignores the thing that everybody heard because everyone went quiet first, and then continued on chanting his claim.
Indeed, his claim's wrapped up in how do you explain this on a flat Earth. He initially started off by asking how we explain an R on a flat Earth when we don't have one. It's all a burden of proof reversal fallacy, and it's wrapped up to make a claim that we've got a sphere Earth in orthographic view without perspective, which he'll obfuscate and chant through at every opportunity, and then call me a liar when he's had to lie about the positioning and it's supposed being your positioning that you experience when it isn't. It doesn't matter if we chant it at him 70 or 80 or 1,000 times, you won't accept that. Because to believe you're on a sphere, this is the view you think you have. You think that you experience the world through the eyes of someone that isn't you. It's you seeing someone else experience the world without perspective. That's what you're actually viewing here. And he's got to chant through that at every single opportunity. with that, I am going to say, first and foremost, a huge, massive, enormous thank you to both Discord and G Plus panels for making today's after show possible. And of course, a massive thank you to all of you in either Nathan Oakley 1980 or Nathan Oakley Premiering streams. Hopefully smashing the super chat, definitely hopefully smashing the PayPal link, because I'm definitely out up at the moment. So appreciate it if you have done that. Really do appreciate your support. Also, you can get £50 for swapping your UK electricity supplier to Octopus Energy. Link in the info box below this video. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I will see you all in the next video.